Andy Reid and his 2014 Kansas City Chiefs ready to take the field for the preseason opener against the Cincinnati Bengals. We are moments away from the kick. On the sidelines tonight throughout the broadcast will be B.J. Kissel and also Rachel Sanchi. Let's check in with B.J. for the first time.
Thanks, Paul. There are two Chiefs defensive starters who will not be playing tonight. Veteran Mike DeVito injured his hand at practice on Monday, and he will not be playing. He'll be replaced by Jay Howard at right defensive end. And safety Eric Berry, who has been practicing, and it is just precautionary, but he will not be playing tonight. He will be replaced by rookie Daniel Sorensen. Back to you guys.
All right, BJ, thank you very much. We look forward to the contributions of Rachel Sanchi as well. Well, it rained here heavily last night in Kansas City. Pretty nice night, though. 82 degrees, not too humid trend. And as we know, this time of year, humidity can play a factor. Can't get a whole lot better than this evening.
Well, you know, coming into the stadium tonight, you saw the excitement of the fans. The parking lot was filled. Everybody's already gotten their tailgating mode. And you can hear the chop in the background there that everybody's excited right for this kickoff, for the preseason to get started.
Bengals won the toss, and they chose to defer. So the Chiefs will get it first, and back deep. Second-year running back out of Arkansas. Draft selection last year is Niall Davis. He'll take the kickoff from Mike Nugent. Couple of 11-win AFC playoff teams from a year ago. The Bengals 11-5 and AFC North champions, and the Chiefs 11 wins and an AFC wildcard spot. Davis going to bring it from 9.5 yards deep. And he makes it out to the 17-yard line. Tackle made by safety for Cincinnati, Taylor Mays. Now, Alex Smith came in with an 8-year reputation from San Francisco to Kansas City. Number one, of taking care of the football. And number two, he plays winning football and didn't let anybody down. The fewest interceptions of any starting quarterback in the NFL last year. And as Trent just mentioned in the open, the huge turnaround for Kansas City from 2 wins to 11. Alex Smith, a major part of that turnaround.
And we can't forget about the fact that he made the Pro Bowl. So you make a trade for a guy in his first year here, leads him to 11 wins and gets to Hawaii. So nice job by Alex.
Jamal Charles also in Hawaii. He's untouched until he gets to about 7 yards downfield. The ball did come out late. Nice job by the left side of that offensive line, and a good start to the preseason for Jamal Charles. Here are tonight's Truman Medical Center's starting lineups. Truman Medical Centers and the Chiefs, partners for a healthy community. And we take a look up front, and a lot of changes up front, Trent, led by the switch from Eric Fisher, last year's #1 overall pick, from the right side to the starter at left tackle. Alex Smith to the air for the first time out of the backfield. And Jamal Charles, the Chiefs' leading receiver last year. That's good for a gain of 1.
Not a big surprise that the first 2 plays go to Jamal Charles, as you said.
Rushing and receiving.
Rushing was the first one, and the second one receiving the ball, as you mentioned, leading receiver as well as the leading rusher for the Chiefs a year ago.
3rd down and 2 from the Chiefs' 21-yard line.
3rd down and 2. Nice call for Andy Reid and Doug Peterson to make. You've got perhaps the best running back in the AFC behind Alex Smith. And he earned some confidence with the way he threw it last year. And right back to the ground. Charles touches it for the 3rd time in a row on this drive. Going to be right at the first down marker. And he's going to be a little bit short.
Charles, the ball carrier.
Be about 4th and less than a yard. Tackle made by Peko from that Bengal front.
Well, it's interesting. The first play of this drive, they ran the ball with Jamal Charles to the left side, and we talked about in the opening, Eric Fisher moving from that right tackle spot to left tackle spot, and that's where they had success moving the ball. A big 7-8 yard gain on first down. That time on 3rd and short, they decide to run to the right side. Cincinnati overloads it and is able to wrap him up before the first down.
Dustin Colquitt, such a veteran, he might have even played with Trent Green, right? Did he play with you?
He did.
Almost.
He's one of the few guys left on the roster that did. He and DJ.
Back deep for the Bengals, Brandon Tate. Colquitt inside the 10 and out of bounds at the 7-yard line. That's how you get your preseason started, number 2.
He has a great reputation of being able to place the ball inside the 20, and usually when he's closer, placing it inside the 10. But this time here, all the way from 70 yard punt, putting it down inside the 10.
71 yards and no return. That's why the first man out to greet him was special teams coach Dave Toub.
And that helps solidify his off-season contract status. He was able to renew and is going to be the punter here for a long time.
Andy Dalton, starting quarterback for the Bengals, in the news this week, signing that new big contract. He'll be the Bengals quarterback for a while. A.J. Green doing just what he does. The long reach, the strong hands, and that's a gain of 9. Cincinnati difference makers coming up after the starting defense for Kansas City. Mentioned that Andy Dalton, the quarterback for the Bengals, the tailback, Giovanni Bernard, second-year rusher out of North Carolina. Huge season last year as a rookie, and he gets enough for a Bengal first down. That's a gain of 4.
Well, having a chance to talk to Anthony Munoz, who's in the booth for Cincinnati next to us, talking about, he said Giovanni probably get 1 touch. The law firm will probably get 1 touch, and then they're going to get guys out of there. Even Dalton won't play that long because they're banged up on the offensive line. So look for big things from the Chiefs defense tonight. Hopefully they can get after these young players.
You mentioned looking for big things from the Chief defense as we watch Andy Dalton operate from the shotgun here, back to the air. Setting up the screen to Bernard. Looks like the screen will be well set up. He waits for his blockers and gets out here. Another first down. Tackle made by linebacker James Michael Johnson. And that's a Bengal gain of 9. Now we take a look at the Cincinnati difference makers on defense, or on offense. And this is Andy Dalton, the quarterback we mentioned, signing that brand new contract this week. And A.J. Green, I would imagine he'll have a new contract to lock him up as a Bengal for a long time. That'll likely happen sometime soon. Bernard remains the tailback here on 2nd down and 1. Picking his way around that right side and picks up another first down. Bernard been the workhorse here early on this drive. That's a gain of 4. Tackle made by DeMarcus Van Dyke.
You can see Justin Houston on the outside left, forcing Bernard to turn that up, keeping that outside contained so the inside pursuit, the defense from the inside can pursue out and able to make that tackle. Nice job by Houston getting leverage outside and forcing that run inside.
Pardon me, that tackle was made by Ron Parker, man who was expected to step up and do big things at the cornerback position here for Bob Sutton's defense. First down and 10. Dalton steps up, looking deep to A.J. Green. He's got him, and he's got the ball. A.J. Green down to the 13-yard line.
Dalton's pass complete to A.J. Green.
Brought down by Daniel Sorensen from his safety position, but that's a gain of 53.
Well, and that's what we talked about, Eric Berry not playing tonight. Rookie Daniel Sorensen getting his first start back there, and you have to be aware of the speed and the length of A.J. Green and how he can get deep on the field. And you could see that Sorensen was coming from the other side of the field, and he didn't get rotated over far enough, and the Bengals were able to take advantage of it.
That Hypermo, sponsored by Bud Light. Giovanni Bernard once again. Stopped there at the line of scrimmage. Dontari Poe is there. Joe Mays, first season as a Chief, was also there. That's a gain of 1.
Well, Mays comes over. He was with Houston last year for a year, and then prior to that was with Denver. But his career started with Philly and Andy Reid, where his first 2 seasons after being a 6th rounder from North Dakota State, he looks to fit in. He right from the beginning, he's been the starter, and he's transitioned really well into what they're trying to do defensively.
52-yard hookup on the play action a couple plays ago from Dalton to A.J. Green has the Bengals in business on the 11-yard line. Dalton again with time, this time to the end zone. Incomplete. Tyler Eifert, former first-round pick out of Notre Dame. Derek Johnson with the coverage for the Chiefs.
Well, Eifert's a guy that Cincinnati is expecting to get big things from. When you have outside receivers the way Cincinnati does, that leaves the middle of the field open. And transitioning over to the Chiefs, they're having high expectations with Demetrius Harris and Travis Kelce coming in their second years as well.
3rd down and 9. Andy Dalton facing here against the Chief defense. Need to get just inside the 4-yard line. Here comes the blitz. Dalton stands in, delivers high. And the Chiefs hold on 3rd and 9.
Good job getting some pressure on Andy Dalton. The pocket was collapsing around him. He wasn't able to step into the throw. You can watch here. He's going to drift back on his throw. He doesn't really get his feet planted. You can see Allen Bailey getting pressure up the middle. And as he's falling back, it's hard. A lot of times as a quarterback, if you're not able to finish your throw, you tend to throw it off your back foot, and the ball tends to float on you, and that's what happened there. The ball goes high. Good job by the defense rallying there, but better job by Bailey pressing up the middle.
Mike Nugent from 30 yards out to erase the 0 from the Bengals side of the scoreboard. He does just that. And a 52-yard pass completion from Andy Dalton to A.J. Green, the key play in that drive. Mike Nugent, 30-yard field goal, 3-0 Bengals. The leading rusher in the AFC last year, Jamaal Charles, will be back on the field right after this.
Welcome back to Arrowhead Stadium, where the Bengals are up 3-0 in the first quarter. But let me tell you, it is exciting to be back at Arrowhead Stadium. Fans are ecstatic. They're decked out in Chiefs gear. Some fans have posters. Earlier season ticket members were actually down on the field. They got to meet the players, get a football autographed. They redeemed their points through ChiefsKingdomPass.com, and we're ecstatic to be down here. I think it's pretty safe to say that everyone is happy that football is finally back.
Exactly, Rachel. Been thinking that ever since we turned the calendar from July to August. 3-0 Bengals. This is rookie out of Georgia State, undrafted free agent Albert Wilson around the left side and finding nothing going. Nice job by the Bengals special teams as Wilson goes down on the 7-yard line. 3-0 Cincinnati, back with the Chiefs' second drive after this. And this is Arrowhead Stadium, moments into the first preseason game of 2014. Alex Smith, Jamaal Charles, the Chiefs starting offense, back on the field for the second time tonight. To the air on first down, that's Smith, Dwayne Bowe. The connection Chiefs fans hope to see a lot of this season. That's a gain of 10.
Well, and that's one way to get the defensive pressure away from Dwayne Bowe. Anthony Fasano lines up on the same side as Bowe. He motions to the other side. That gets the linebackers to slide out of the way, giving Dwayne Bowe one-on-one in that entire side of the field. Nice recognition by Alex, and good throw and nice catch.
Remember last preseason, it took a couple games for Dwayne to get that first catch, so we don't have to worry about that.
Right. We had to talk to him, about, don't get frustrated,
Jamaal Charles is up the middle for 4 yards. And Dwayne Bowe, one of the comments you made when we sat down last night and talked about things you saw at camp when you made the trip up there was how Dwayne Bowe made a real effort just to change his body. He looks a lot better.
He did, and he went out and he got a dietitian, changed his diet a little bit. I think you can tell just by looking at him, his body fat's down. He wants to be a better player. He knows that there's higher expectations, and with the success last year, he's hoping for a big year.
Smith goes down and the football comes out. And the Bengals have it on the 15-yard line. Carlos Dunlap, defensive end, recovers. Already with a 3-0 lead. Andy Dalton going to come out and take over at the 15-yard line. Robert gathers the defender to knock it out of Alex Smith's hands.
Well, and with Eric Fisher moving from the right side back to the left tackle spot, that's the spot that he's comfortable with, that he played in college, had a comfort zone with, but there are going to be some growing pains in there. As a quarterback, when you hang on to the ball that long, that pocket is going to collapse on you. And actually, Fisher did a nice job of keeping the defender away, but as Alex was standing there, the defender was able to reach over Eric and get a hold of Alex.
New quarterback, new tailback for Cincinnati, Jason Campbell. The QB, Jeremy Hill, rookie draft selection out of LSU, down to the 13-yard line.
Jeremy Hill, the ball carrier.
Tackle made by James Michael Johnson.
James Michael Johnson, gain of 4 yards.
So Andy Dalton plays one series. His highlight, a 53-yard play-action bomb to A.J. Green inside the 20-yard line.
Second down and 7 from the 13-yard line.
New contract in hand. One good series, a scoring drive under his belt, and he's going to watch the rest of the way. Hill remains the tailback and the veteran quarterback, former first-round pick of the Washington Redskins. Feels like a while ago when he was in D.C. This is Jason Campbell. And that's Tyler Eifert, his first catch of the night. Tackle made by James Michael Johnson, who has been an active linebacker for the Chiefs here tonight.
Well, James Michael Johnson, here's a guy that they brought in this year, and he's getting an opportunity to get some playing time, and being up at training camp and watching the rotation they're doing with all of their linebackers gives him an opportunity to get on the field. And Joe Mays was the one that started that first drive and was out there, but they want to get James Michael Johnson some opportunities because he has been able to make some impact plays up at training camp.
3rd down and 3 for the Bengals. Chiefs bring 5 to the end zone. Penalty marker is down, but that's a touchdown. Brandon Tate. We'll see if it stands.
Well, the point of emphasis on rules this year is going to be that bump after 5 yards.
Use of hands to the face. Defense number 38. That penalties decline. Result of the play is a touchdown.
Penalty on cornerback Ron Parker. Touchdown Brandon Tate.
Well, we just got through talking about Alex Smith finding that one-on-one with Dwayne Bowe on a slant route. This time, Jason Campbell does the same thing. He finds a one-on-one. The tight end goes to the flat. The linebacker chases, leaves that void on the inside, and Parker gets beat. You can see as Parker tries to undercut that angle, and just isn't able to get to it.
The deep extra point, as you can see, we'll be doing this for the first 2 weeks of the preseason. No trouble at all for Nugent. Has a field goal, has an extra point. And Jason Campbell has a 9-yard touchdown pass to Brandon Tate. Still in the first quarter, Bengals by 10. The Chiefs have launched new year-round television programming produced by 65 Toss Power Trap Productions. The 52 weeks of programming is comprised of 4 different shows throughout the year: Red and Gold, Blueprint, Chiefs Kingdom, and Specials, along with Chiefs Insider in the fall. Check your local listings and don't miss an episode this year and watch it year-round.
Kicking off for Cincinnati.
We are watching the first preseason game of the season right here at Arrowhead Stadium. The Bengals on top, 10-0. Mike Nugent has a field goal from 30 yards out. Carlos Dunlap recovered a fumble inside the 20-yard line, and moments ago, Jason Campbell to Brandon Tate, the touchdown pass, and that's how you get 10-0. This is Albert Wilson, undrafted free agent out of Georgia State. And there goes Albert Wilson.
And the late flag for the hit out of bounds is going to give the Chiefs another 15 yards. The Chiefs a year ago set an NFL record on kickoff return, over 29 yards a return.
60-yard return for Albert Wilson.
Was number 1 in the National Football League, and as I said, it was a National Football League record for kickoff return average.
Little foul, unnecessary roughness on the return team, or excuse me, the kicking team, number 34. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down, Kansas City.
Albert Wilson used to success returning the kick. In fact, at Georgia State, he returned 94 kickoffs, one time against Alabama. Went back for a touchdown right down the sideline where Nick Saban was standing and watching. Here around the left side. Illegal hit at the end and tack on 15 yards to that 65-yard return.
And Adam Jones is the guy for the Bengals. Many of you may remember, he used to go by Pac-Man, but
yes,
now he's just Adam Jones, but he's the one that got that extra 15 for the Chiefs.
There's your 4th round selection, the speedy playmaker out of Oregon, DeAnthony Thomas around the left side. That's his first carry as a Chief, brought down by Wallace Gilberry. That's a gain of 3. And I think all Chiefs fans really excited to see, well, first of all, what he looks like in a Chiefs uniform, but number 2, how they use him, how they're going to employ all that talent.
Well, I think you're going to see a little bit of Chief fans remember Dexter McCluster. They're going to find him in the backfield. You'll find him in the slot. They're going to find different ways to get him the ball when you have that type of speed.
And Smith looked at Thomas early, came back to Fasano. Yes, there was contact. Ray Naluga flagged for pass interference there.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense, number 58. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Fasano's here on the right. He works over the middle of the ball and does a sit-down route. He tries to escape and go the other way. And as you can see, the hold just grabs him around the shoulder pads. It's going to be important for the passing game. I know a lot was placed on the fact Dwayne Bowe's numbers a year ago, and everybody wants to talk to the wide receivers. We even mentioned it in the open. But I think an important part of the passing game for the Chiefs is going to be the tight end. Having a healthy Anthony Fasano, getting development from Travis Kelce after being on IR a year ago, and the development of Demetrius Harris, played basketball, now transitioning more into a football player. We'll see those 2 guys later in this game.
Back to the air, Alex Smith sees nothing he likes. And eventually just fires away. We've seen that a couple times tonight, Trent, where it looks like he has time and his first and second receiver is just not there.
Yeah, he tried that time as he's moving around in the pocket. It looked like he could have ran up to the left and maybe took off and run and Alex is smart enough to know the preseason, hey, let's buy some time and let some guys get open, and he worked his way to the right. Had Avery on a drag coming from left to right that was in front of him, but he was covered. Fasano was covered down the right corner, so smart job by Alex just throwing that away and not losing that extra 5 to 7 yards.
Jamal Charles back in at tailback. Smith setting up the screen to Charles. Of course, makes a couple defenders miss inside the 10-yard line. There's your versatility. Not only the Chiefs' leading rusher, but leading receiver last year. Making something happen inside the 10. That's a gain of 8.
And I just want you to look at the number of guys that he makes miss. And this is what makes him such a special running back and makes him an elite running back in the league. Right there, nobody's blocking him. Nobody's blocking him. He breaks through both tackles. And even the last guy that ultimately gets the tackle wraps him around the ankles. But Jamal's able to pick up another 2 or 3 yards even after that contact. So you can see Jeff Allen coming out, pulling, trying to get out in space. He's there too late. Jamal just goes one-on-one with those guys in the open field. And that's what, as I said, Paul, makes him elite.
3rd down and 2. Short rollout to the right and looking for Dwayne Bowe. And just overthrew him.
Intended for Dwayne Bowe.
Well, that's a 3rd down play that a lot of teams like to utilize. You have 2 receivers to the side. You have one guy clear out. You have the other guy do a rub route on a rollout with your quarterback. You've got a quick little 3-yard flip to pick up the 1st down, and just it didn't appear that the timing was there. Whether Dwayne went too deep on the route or whether Alex, was a little too quick with his throw, not letting it develop, one way or another, didn't get the 1st down, and now we have a field goal.
A quick rollout to your right. Those are ones that can easily get left out wide like that. Always going to drift to your right a little bit. Ryan Suckup from 27 yards. And the Chiefs are on the board. Albert Wilson, 65-yard kickoff return, set it up. Bengals 10, Chiefs 3. Enhance your game day experience with free Arrowhead Wi-Fi, in-stadium NFL Red Zone, video highlights and replays from every drive. Chiefs mobile app keeps you connected to the Chiefs Kingdom 365 days a year. Download today on your iPhone or your Android. 4:47 left in the first quarter of the first preseason game for the Chiefs. Ryan Suckup field goal cuts that 10-0 lead to 10-3. Perfect night for football here. There could be rain, there could be humidity, and there's some clouds in the sky, but a lot of blue, and it's not nearly as warm as it could be this time of year.
Oh, they definitely got lucky. I mean, you think about last night with all the lightning and rain and storms that were going on. So, yeah, they couldn't ask for a better night tonight.
Back of the end zone. Chiefs defense going to be back out on the field. Let's see Derek Johnson, Tamba Hali, Donsari Poe. You can check them out right after the break. 4:47 left in the first quarter. Jason Campbell, Bengals offense back out of the field. That's Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis. And that's the middle of that Chiefs defense stepping up and holding him to a gain of 2. Andy Reid telling us on Monday, you got to love the pass rush effect of Tamba Hali and also Justin Houston, but they wanted another pass rusher, so you go out and draft one in the first round. D Ford, a couple of sacks in the BCS national title game. I was at the Senior Bowl for the whole week in Mobile. He was pretty much unblockable, the MVP of that game. And now it'll be interesting to see how Bob Sutton can find a home and work him into that pass rushing in addition to Houston and also Hali. Campbell trying to set up that screen. Late flag in comes from the defensive backfield as Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis gets out to the 25-yard line before he's tackled by Tamba Hali, but we'll check in on the penalty flag. Referee tonight, Cleet Blakeman.
Illegal contact. Defense, number 38. 5-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
Second penalty called tonight on cornerback Ron Parker.
Well, there is going to be an emphasis on that. We touched on it earlier tonight. The NFL has made a case here at the bottom of your screen or your far right of your screen. You can see after 5 yards, I know people are looking at that and they're saying that's not a penalty. You've seen worse than that a year ago. Seen that worse than that the last couple years, but the NFL has made known and the officials went around to all the teams and said there will be a point of emphasis on that bump past 5 yards.
Green Ellis off the right side, running tough there across the 35-yard line to pick up 8. Tackle finally made by Justin Houston.
Tackle by Marcus Cooper, gain of 9 yards on the play.
Marcus Cooper also in on the tackle.
Well, you mentioned a little bit ago about Tamba Hali and Dee Ford, Justin Houston, and you talk about the other linebackers. Joe Mays and Nico Johnson's been in there. James Michael Johnson, Derek Johnson. You know, you've got all these weapons. You got all these athletes at linebacker position. Just Bob Sutton, as you mentioned, finding different ways to utilize them all.
And there's Green Ellis again. Right up the middle down to the 43-yard line. That's a gain of 7. And the tackle made by Tamba Hali.
Gain of 7 yards on the play.
So the Bengal offense finding success here in the first quarter. The first drive led by Andy Dalton, 53-yard pass to A.J. Green led to a Nugent 30-yard field goal. Carlos Dunlap recovered a fumble by Alex Smith inside the 20-yard line, led to a Brandon Tate touchdown reception from Jason Campbell. And now Campbell and Green Ellis have the Bengals on the move once again. Come with the blitz, and Campbell in trouble. Down he goes. Joe Mays, the veteran linebacker, first season with the Chiefs, throws Campbell for a loss.
Well, and it's interesting to see Bob Sutton's reaction to what's been going on so far here in this game. And you generally in the preseason, you don't do a lot of blitzing, you don't do a lot of pressure. But with the way this game's been going,
Second down and 18.
he decides to bring pressure, brings 2 linebackers that time, and Mays is able to get free and get the big sack.
Drafted by Philly, 6th round back in 2008, so there's a familiarity there with his head coach, kind of reunited with Andy Reid. Then last year with the Texans. Nice job by the Chiefs defense there that time. Hali on the tackle, Alan Bailey there as well. Mays getting a rest. That was a gain of 2.
Well, and I mentioned bringing pressure, which is something generally you don't do in the preseason, but you also have to do what you do. If you're a blitzing team, if you're a multi-combination team, if you're a stunt, twist, bring corners, bring nickels, bring linebackers, whatever it may be, you've got to work on those things as well. So even though there is a thought in the league or during the preseason you call things a little bit differently, you also have to get your guys ready to play. And when Tennessee rolls in here the opening weekend, as you said, a month from today, that's going to be important.
This time the Chiefs bring only 4, set up the screen, and that's going nowhere.
Campbell's pass incomplete.
James Michael Johnson, first quarter, already has 3 or 4 tackles, and that time sniffs out the screen.
And that's just great awareness, knowing on 3rd and long, a lot of teams like going to the draw and they like going to the screen. They want the pass rushers. They think everybody's going to come up the field, so you're going to be able to drop that screen off. And nice job by Michael Johnson there, James Michael Johnson, reading the screen, getting out in front of the linemen so that they can't get contact, and he's able to get a clean hit on the running back.
James Michael Johnson, former draft pick of the Browns, released and picked up by the Chiefs. Here's DeAnthony Thomas out of Oregon, and here he goes. Goodbye. We have no flags. DeAnthony Thomas will score.
Touchdown, Chiefs!
Well, and that's the excitement that DeAnthony brings. He has a whole nother dimension of speed. You talk about his quickness, you talk about his aloofness. How about his toughness here? He has his own player and a Bengal player run into him. He bounces off, spins away, and then there's the open field speed that everybody remembers from Oregon. When he gets in space and he has that room to run, he's a sprinter.
Really no surprise to see that. Scored touchdowns at Oregon. Gets the hug there from special teams coordinator Dave Toub. Scored on punt returns, scored on kickoff returns. Punt return average trend at Oregon of 17.1 yards. And that's what really jumped out to me studying him. You can say all of his yardage on offense a product of that system that runs so well. But when you average over 17 yards punt return in the Pac-12, it says a lot about your talent that we just saw.
Well, and a lot of times the guy of DeAnthony's stature, he's a smaller guy. When that initial contact happens, you have to remember you're focused and concentrating on that ball coming down. And yet when you get contact, he was able to keep that balance. He was able to gain where he was on the field and not run in circles trying to figure out what just happened. He just was a sprinter, and just once he found that open lane, he took off, and he's going to be a special player. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how Andy Reid comes up with ways to utilize him as a weapon, not only offensively, but as we just saw on special teams.
The speed was great, but what really made that play, and you pointed it out right away, how he was able to stay up after that big hit as soon as he caught the ball.
Yeah, a lot of times guys get knocked down on something like that because there is such focus and concentration. You don't want to fumble or have a muffed punt return. And then when that contact happens, especially that quickly, now watch how quickly the ball hits his hands and the contact happens. It happens from his player first and then the Bengals player. And a lot of times that ball will come out or you'll go down trying to secure the ball. That's what makes that impressive. When he gets in the open field, there's not many people in the National Football League, if any, that are going to catch him once he gets rolling.
And what a luxury for this team as they try and figure out what to do with him or how to use him in the slot or as a running back on offense. While they're exploring all of that, you can have him return punts. You can have him return kicks. Dave Toub, he is smiling on the inside. He was smiling on the outside a moment ago, too.
He doesn't show a lot of emotion. We've been covering him now. This is our second year covering him, and he doesn't show a lot of emotions. He's very serious about his job, and that's why the special teams are so good. They do a great job with their kickoff and punt return and also their coverages.
This is Brandon Tate, former draft pick of the New England Patriots out of North Carolina.
Brandon Tate on the return.
And he is tackled.
He's tackled by Anthony Sherman.
Philip Gaines in on the tackle. The rookie draft pick out of Rice, and Anthony Sherman also there. DeAnthony Thomas, number 1 with his first touchdown as a Chief. 80-yard punt return, electrifying the Arrowhead crowd here tonight and also tying the score at 10.
29-yard line.
Well, and as the defense is taking the field, it looks like they're transitioning some of their starters out and putting some fresh bodies in. This is going to be our first chance to see third-round draft pick Philip Gaines out of Rice getting his first action.
Jason Campbell intercepted. Will the Chiefs have 2 return touchdowns in a row? Yes, they do. Sean Smith. DeAnthony Thomas, punt return touchdown, followed up by the Sean Smith pick 6.
Well, let's go back to the first play of the game with Andy Dalton to A.J. Green. It was a 3-step drop, back shoulder throw, A.J. Green on a stop route on the far side. It's the same exact position of the field, same exact route, except this time Jason Campbell leaves it to the inside. Sean Smith not being in there as the starter. Ron Parker getting the start. He notices those things on the sideline. He recognizes the route that's coming his way. And when Campbell makes the mistake of leaving it inside, Sean Smith is too good of hands, too fast a player, and makes him pay for it.
And what a snapshot of the Chiefs' success we saw last year. We have a special teams touchdown. We have a defensive touchdown. You talk about it at the top of the broadcast in the open. And Succop sneaks that just inside from 33 yards out. The defense following suit to these special teams, providing 6 points of its own.
Well, a year ago, the Chiefs' defense and special teams on returns alone had 11 touchdowns between defense and special teams. So you add that with what the offense was able to do, and you add it to the type of season that Jamaal Charles had and what he was able to accomplish from an offensive standpoint. You know, you're getting an extra 11 touchdowns from your defense and special teams. That's what really elevates a team and really what helped the Chiefs get to 11 wins.
Return touchdowns, 11. You add up the total from 3 seasons before. That's all 3 combined, and they had only 7. The Chiefs had a special season last year defensively and special team scoring.
Well, you know, they're showing Sean Smith right there. We had a chance to talk to John Dorsey and Andy Reid both about what Sean Smith's attitude was like because he was demoted from starter back to second string in the spring, and Ron Parker continues to be the starter. And Andy Reid said his attitude has been great. He comes out and he's had a better training camp this year than he did a year ago. His attitude's been very fresh. He's being a good team leader out on the field. And then he went to mention, he said, you know what, most of the time, or about 70% of the time, you're going to be in a nickel or dime defense anyway. With the way the National Football League is throwing the football now, he's going to be on the field one way or another.
Isn't that amazing? Even you hear yourself say that 70% of the time. You at least 5 defensive backs on the field. I mean, 10 years ago, it was somewhere below 50%.
I mean, you need to start training to get ball. They're going to throw the ball that much. I want to get back out there.
I saw you get excited.
Okay, that's not realistic.
Sean Smith scored a touchdown on the last play. DeAnthony Thomas scored a touchdown from 80 yards on the punt return. The play before that, Bob Sutton's defense heading back out there. A couple minutes ago, it was 10-3.
10 Cincinnati from the Bengals.
Sean Smith,
20-yard line.
DeAnthony Thomas had something to say about that. Now inside a minute, 22 seconds left. And the Chiefs on top 17-10. That's actually 17 unanswered points because at one point in the first quarter, Chiefs trailed 10-zip. Campbell right back to the air, this time going deep. And Brandon Tate had a chance.
Campbell's pass is
It falls incomplete. 15 seconds left now in the first quarter.
You know what that tells me right there is Jason Campbell gets to the sideline and his offensive coaches got a hold of him. And he said, you know what, your first pass, you come out here, or not his first pass, but the first play of the drive, you have stop routes on both sides. And you decide to go after Sean Smith. You got the veteran over there that knows how to read it. Why not go the other side of the field? You have a rookie taking his first snap. So Sean Smith makes him pay for it. That time he decides, he comes up, he sees one-on-one with Philip Gaines. He decides to take a shot at it. Good position by Gaines running with the receiver and making it a difficult catch.
Philip Gaines kind of made a name for himself down at the East-West Shrine game during that week. I remember a lot of people talking about him. There was a buzz, and Campbell barely handles the snap and then fires that one away. Dee Ford, the rookie first-round pick who a week later made a big name for himself at the Senior Bowl. I labeled him earlier as kind of unblockable during Senior Bowl week. And he finds his way to Jason Campbell that time.
Well, and the Bengals are dealing with a rookie center in Bodine. You know there's going to be some mishaps throughout the course of the preseason. And for the Bengals case, hopefully they get that squared away before the season starts. But Campbell, as you can see, that ball gets high. He's able to get a hand on it. If he doesn't get a hand on it, that thing may shoot through the end zone.
From the 20-yard line.
Interesting that Dee Ford came from up the middle. And I mean, it's kind of a theme now. You see it a lot that guys that you think are going to come off the edge find their way to come up that one gap.
Well, and think about where Mays got his sack. Mays got his sack up the middle. So Bob Sutton finding ways to bring pressure. And you got an athlete like Dee Ford, you're going to find different ways to attack.
Third down and 10 now, 9 seconds left. Penalty flags come in.
Flags on the play.
False start. Offense, number 17. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
Number 17, they're giving that to Jason Campbell. So as a quarterback, sometimes you get a little illegal head nod or a knee bend, or you know they're going to make that an emphasis. Let's keep an eye on Jason and see what he does here. Oh, he kind of rocked back on his heels. I know as a former quarterback, that's a little touchy if you're going to call that on the quarterback for rocking on your heels. So the Chiefs maybe got away with one, but I think the left tackle definitely moved without having an influence of the defender.
Third down and 15. Chiefs bring 4. Campbell steps up in the pocket, fires, and another interception. That's Malcolm Bronson. Nope, that was incomplete.
Campbell's pass incomplete.
Malcolm sold it well. He got up and ran like he caught it, but incomplete.
Well, the way he scooped his arms underneath it, I'm sure they're hoping for a replay or at least a look at it. And here you are at the end of the quarter, so the coaches are going to have a chance to look.
Andy Reid taking a look at the big screen. What do we see here? Did Bronson pick that one off? Tough to tell. 1 quarter in the books. Chiefs lead 17-10. We are back getting ready to start the second quarter. The Chiefs leading at the Bengals 17-10. And the final play of the first quarter, Malcolm Bronson with an errant pass over the middle. Did he intercept it? He thought he did. It was initially ruled incomplete, and the play is being challenged. And here's what they're looking at. I don't know about you, Trent. I did not see the ball touch the ground from that angle.
Well, the hard part you're dealing with now is it has to be enough proof to overturn it. You know, because on the field they ruled it that it did hit the ground, and you could say from that angle right there it looks like it potentially could have hit the ground, but it's really in between his 2 elbows. So the fact that it was called an incomplete pass, I don't know if there's enough to, you know, conclusively say that his elbow was underneath it. So I'm gonna say that they're not gonna overturn it, as much as I want them to overturn it.
The review of the play, the ruling on the field stands as an incomplete pass.
You're gonna say
brings
what?
up 4th down.
I'm going to say
Kansas
we
City
should
is
never doubt
charged
Trent
with
Green.
their first time out.
That's what I'm going to say.
I don't know if the official had the luxury of that close-up view, because I agree with you when you started saying after that close-up view, it looked like it didn't hit the ground. But now with the replay system, they have all kinds of different angles, and they're taking it to a main hub that they're looking at it. There's taking it back to, there's a whole group of officials that are looking at it. It's not just the main. It's not just the main official coming over and looking at it under the hood. It's this whole crew looking at it that he's able to talk to before he even gets there. They've looked at it multiple times.
And you can see number 85 back deep to receive for the Chiefs, Frankie Hammond Jr. Moments ago, DeAnthony Thomas, the rookie 4th-round pick out of Oregon, took one back 80 yards. And this one's just going to roll to the 41-yard line. And that's where the Chiefs will begin this next drive. We have more penalty markers down, a couple of them back on the 15-yard line. Chiefs trailed at 1 point, 10-0 in that first quarter. 17 unanswered points to make it 17-10.
There are 2 fouls against the return team on the play. Holding, number 51. That penalty's declined. Holding, number 47. 10-yard penalty from the end of the kick. First down, Kansas City.
Those penalties, not only unfortunate, they were inconsiderate, Trent, because they delayed the welcome of Chiefs chairman and CEO Clark Hunt. Clark, good to see you.
Good to see you. Great to be on here with you.
Always enjoy spending time with you in this way up here in the booth early in August. DeAnthony Thomas, 4th-round pick, looked pretty good back there in early May when I saw the Chiefs make that selection. Looked even better a moment ago, running 80 yards right by us here.
Yeah, he sure did. What an exciting play. Did a great job not to get tackled right after he caught the ball, spun it, went the other direction, and used that world-class speed that he has. I'm sure that's a return that he will remember the rest of his life, his first as a Chief.
Well, a year ago right now we were talking about, or we were hoping that the combination of Andy Reid and also John Dorsey could really re-energize this very loyal fan base. That certainly happened. So now looking ahead to year 2 of Dorsey and also Reid, what are you looking for here this season?
Well, I think they've got to build on what they did last year. Tremendous turnaround with the team. The fans really responded to it. And now the challenge in year 2 is, can we build on that? We made the playoffs. We'd like to go back to the playoffs and perhaps go a little bit further than we did last year.
Mal Davis picking up 12 yards there for the Chiefs' first down.
Talk about what you've got coming up with Red Friday. It's going to be a special Red Friday this year.
Yeah, it sure is. We've got the 100th anniversary celebration of Union Station, and we're combining our Red Friday celebration with Union Station. We're going to have a great festival that evening, a pep rally. It's going to be a tremendous event over at Union Station.
Mal Davis, second-year running back out of Arkansas, off the right side. Another penalty marker down.
Holding, offense, number 75. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
And when I was reading about what's happening here this weekend with the Chiefs' first preseason game, I noticed that you said, last year the team really established an identity. And I think there's so many positive ways to label that identity. How would you do so?
Well, I think one of the great things about an Andy Reid coached football team is you're a complete football team. The early part of the season last year, the defense was dominant. The offense improved throughout the season, and by the time we got to the playoffs, was playing at a very high level. I think you also have to talk about special teams. Special teams played a huge role in our success last year, so really he had all 3 phases playing well, not necessarily at the same time, and I think that's one of the things they'll be working on this year.
Catch made by the rookie undrafted free agent Albert Wilson out of Georgia State. And that's a gain of 4.
Talk about the re-energized fan base. Obviously last year winning 11 games, having a great record at home, getting back into the playoffs. Just talk about the fans of Kansas City. I know it's a great fan base. I've been here a long time. Obviously you've been here a lot longer than me. But just tell them about what's going on around Kansas City and the reaction of the fans.
Yeah, well, the fans are really special, and whether I run into somebody here in Kansas City or someone who's a Chiefs fan somewhere else in the country, all they want to do is talk about the Chiefs and how excited they are to have Andy Reid here in Kansas City and about the success we had last year and the direction of the football team.
Chase Daniel going down there on the 32-yard line. I think a number of people continue to be excited that training camp is still right back here at St. Joe.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The crowds that we have had this year have been really tremendous. The 2 weeks or so that we've been up there, we've had 5,000-6,000 people out for practice. Andy and the team really appreciate it. Andy's a big believer that having the fans there helps give the players some extra energy to fight through those dog days of the summer that you have during training camp. So our fans are fantastic, and that's one of the great things about being at St. Joe. Our fans can get up there and watch practice.
3rd down and 20 for Chase Daniel. In his first series, overshoots his intended receiver, Travis Kelce, and the Bengals say, well, if you can do it, so can we. The pick six.
Cincinnati.
Well, we talked a little bit earlier about Andy Dalton and throwing off your back foot, and when you throw off your back foot, the ball tends to go high, and down here prior to their field goal attempt, Andy Dalton threw off his back foot. It went high and was incomplete. This time Chase Daniel throws a little bit off his back foot. As you can see, the pressure coming towards him. He goes off that back foot, and once again, the ball's going to float when you're throwing off your back foot, and he's not able to get that ball down. And unfortunately for the Chiefs, that turns into a defensive touchdown for Cincinnati.
40-yard interception return for the former first-round pick out of Alabama, Dre Kirkpatrick. We now have 3 return touchdowns here. Very early in the second quarter, Dre Kirkpatrick, DeAnthony Thomas with the punt return, and Sean Smith, the interception return for the Chiefs. Want to say a big thanks to Chiefs Chairman and CEO Clark Hunt. Thanks for spending time with us.
Absolutely. Great to be here with you guys.
We have lots of points tonight.
Yeah, we sure do, and a lot of football left to play.
Absolutely. Clark, thank you very much. We're back with more football right after this. DeAnthony Thomas back deep after the Dre Kirkpatrick pick 6 for the Bengals, tied it up at 17. DeAnthony Thomas can only hope he can come close to doing what he did on his first return touch. That was 80-yard punt return touchdown late in the first quarter. It's been a game of returns so far. We just mentioned the Kirkpatrick pick 6 and DeAnthony Thomas 80 yards. Sean Smith has a pick 6 as well. And here comes Thomas from 6 yards deep. Got a little space once again. And out to the 27. You get a feel of the electricity he's going to bring to the crowd every single time he gets the ball. That's a return of 34 yards. So Albert Wilson started out. Remember last year, Dave Tove's special teams returned the ball very well in the preseason. That was a 65-yard return. DeAnthony Thomas says, I'm going to shake off that early contact and go 80 yards for a touch. The very next play, Sean Smith, 36-yard touchdown. And then moments ago, Chase Daniel overshot Travis Kelce, and Dre Kirkpatrick had a pick 6 of his own, and we have a 17-17 tie ball game with 12:03 left in the second quarter. Chase Daniel back for his second series. There's a completion to Kelce. And he's an example of a second-year player, just like Niall Davis, just like Eric Fisher, a draft pick from a year ago, that the Chiefs really need to step up and contribute this season.
Well, you go back to last year in training camp, there were high expectations for him. You have a big guy, 6'5", 230 pounds, 250 pounds actually, and you're expecting big things from him because of his athletic ability and because of his size. You can use him in the running game, and you know, he just with the injuries last year, he had injuries nicked up in training camp. He had injuries when the season started, and ultimately was put on IR because of that knee surgery.
Yeah, 3rd round selection out of Cincinnati last year. Spent most of his rookie season on IR. And Daniel had time, but looked like where he wanted to go. He was looking the direction of Demetrius Harris. Either he wasn't open or Harris wasn't looking. And Daniel just had to tuck that one down.
We got to remember last year in that final game of the season against San Diego, a lot of the backups played, and Chase Daniel hadn't really had any regular season action. He'd been in the league 5 years, but he goes into San Diego and really puts him in position to win that football game. 21 of 30, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. So he really solidified himself as the backup on this team. But once again, you got these 2 young quarterbacks that we just saw there on the sideline. They're pressuring him and trying to make a name for themselves as well.
3rd down and 7. Since he comes with 4, stepping up as Daniel keeps it himself. And that was a wise decision. Easily a first down out just across the 45-yard line. So on 3rd down and 7, Daniel keeps it himself to get 15.
That 14-yard run good for a Kansas City Chiefs.
The
see he has good patience, good awareness. He realizes the pressure is coming from the outside. He steps up in the pocket. He doesn't immediately take off and run. He keeps his eyes up the field, but then he realizes there's a big enough gap to where he can burst through there and pick up the first down. Nice job. Not only taking care of the football, but taking care of himself that he doesn't take that big hit.
First down and 10 from the 46. Now Davis is tailback. Play action to Davis. There's a nice pocket. And there's Kyle Williams. Another first down. 2 plays in a row. First Daniel keeps it himself. And that's an 18-yard strike to Williams. Nice catch coming back for that one.
That's 23-yard completion.
Well, Kyle Williams is in the right slot. And what Chase Daniel does is he has a play fake to the left. He rolls out and sets up instead of bootlegging all the way out. He sets up in the pocket. He looks back. He has Frankie Hammond Jr. on the left side running a deep post. And right there, Williams is doing that crossing route. And nice job by Chase stepping in there and making the throw.
Chiefs looking for wide receivers to step up after Bo and Avery. Excellent chance for Williams after spending his first 4 seasons with the 49ers, waived last season. And here he is trying to make an impact just like Nile Davis did on that play. 3 plays in a row. The Chiefs roll for a first down. This one is Nile Davis inside the 20. That's a run of 17 yards.
And Nile Davis, if you remember going back a year ago, you talked about what he was able to do in the preseason, but even carrying that over into the season, you know, you had that competition with Cyrus Gray and who was going to be the second, who was going to be the third. Nile Davis got an opportunity to play last year, and I think a lot of Chief fans remember in the playoffs what Nile was able to do coming off the bench once Jamal left the game, and he's picked up right where he left off.
Make that 4 plays in a row with the first down. However, there is a penalty marker back on the 24-yard line. Catch made by Albert Wilson, rookie undrafted free agent out of Georgia State.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Offense, number 65. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
Number 65, Ricky Henry, offensive lineman out of Nebraska.
Well, and speaking of Ricky Henry, there's a lot of competition at that right guard spot between Rashad Johnson and Ricky Henry, but also who started tonight was rookie Zach Fulton, a 6th-round pick out of Tennessee. The 3 of them have been rotating and getting different opportunities at that right guard spot. And so far, the rookie Zach Fulton has been able to step up and take hold of that spot. And but Ricky Henry is a guy that's been rotating in there as well.
A lot of movement on that offensive line from last year. Eric Fisher going from right tackle to left. Stevenson starting on the right side. And perhaps a rookie at guard. Now Davis, nice gain there. He continues a solid drive for him. Second-year running back out of Arkansas, picks up 11. You mentioned the success he had last year in the playoffs. Unfortunately, Jamal Charles lost early in that game due to injury. He went 18 carries, 67 yards and a touchdown. Also had 7 catches for 33 yards and a touch. Well, it does something for your own confidence, your teammates' confidence in you when you can actually do it during a game instead of just during practice.
Well, and you can see him right there next to Jamal Charles, and we had a chance to talk to Jamal before this game, and he just said the development of Nile, his confidence, understanding the offense, what's expected of him, what to do in protections. It's just, that meant a tremendous amount to him as far as his growth as a player, getting that opportunity and having success.
Earlier in this drive on 3rd down and 7, Chase Daniel kept it for 15 yards. That time going nowhere, brought down at the 20-yard line. And Davis also, if you remember last year at this time, one of the big stories about Nile Davis coming out of Arkansas was he fumbled the ball a lot in college. He was injured a fair bit in college. So means the world to him, and also, again, going back to his teammates' confidence in him, that he was able to get past those, at least in his rookie season.
Well, he made a name for himself in the preseason because of those returns. You touched on it a little bit ago when you were talking about DeAnthony Thomas, but Nile did a nice job of getting recognized because of that.
Nice job at coming back to the ball and also hanging on to it. Albert Wilson, undrafted free agent out of Georgia State, and I hear a lot of good things about what a pleasant surprise he has been a wide receiver.
Well, when you're a college free agent and you don't get drafted, and to get an opportunity to come in camp and make the plays he's been able to make, he has really been one of the bright spots in training camp this year. And you can see here, going low, ball to the outside, able to get his arms around it, keep it cradled without touching the ground. You know, he's only 5'9", but he is 200 pounds, so he's got a lot of strength. He's got a lot of ability to stretch the field with his speed, with his quickness, and you know, he's made a big impression early in camp.
Cairo Santos from 28 yards, right down the middle. In a nice training camp battle for that job with Ryan Succop. He's 1 for 1. Chase Daniel leads a scoring drive for the first time tonight. Kansas City back on top by 3. Chiefs on top 20-17. A lot of points, a lot of turns already in this game. 6:07 left in the second quarter. Chiefs trailed 10-0, but now on top 20-17. Ryan Suckup field goal. Cairo Santos field goal moments ago. We also have a Sean Smith pick six. And DeAnthony Thomas, the rookie fourth-round selection out of Oregon, with an 80-yard punt return for a score in the first quarter. Dane Sanzenbacher fails to get out to the 20-yard line. Second-year player out of Alabama, Nico Johnson with the tackle. Just inside 6 minutes until halftime. Chiefs 20, Bengals 17.
Welcome back to Arrowhead Stadium, where the Chiefs are up 20-17 in the second quarter. Now, just as a reminder, the NFL enhanced their public safety policy last year, so you can only bring in a clear plastic bag like this one. This is an NFL-approved bag, or you can bring in a 12x6x12 plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, or even a small clutch. So visit goarrowhead.com/all-clear for more information before you visit Arrowhead the next time.
All right, Rachel, thank you very much. And we are just inside of 6 minutes left until halftime. Kansas City on top by 3. If you're looking for first-round pick Dee Ford, he is out there wearing number 55. We'll see if he can make some plays on this drive. Nice job by the Chiefs front seven there. Keeping Jeremy Hill, the rookie draft pick out of LSU, to a gain of 3. We'd like to hear from all of you via Twitter. You can reach out and contact us throughout the game tonight.
Gain of 3 yards on the play.
Hashtag Chiefs Kingdom. Jason Campbell still the quarterback. Andy Dalton played for 1 series, led the Bengals to a field goal. Hill out to the 29-yard line there. Tackle made by Josh Mauga.
Well, as this game progresses, you're going to see more and more of these young players get a chance to play. You're going to rotate in. Right now, you're seeing a lot of the second-string guys or guys that are competing for those second-string spots. And once you get into the second half, this first preseason game, you'll still continue to see some of these guys in the third quarter. But then you also are going to see guys that are fighting for roster spots. They're trying to make an impression not only in the offensive defensive side of it, but make that impression as a special teams player as well.
And Campbell continues to struggle in his defense. That was a catchable ball. Malcolm Bronson providing the defense there for Kansas City, but Campbell started out 2 for 2. Also had a touchdown pass in those completions. There's Dee Ford, the first-round selection. But since that 2 for 2 start, he's now 0 for 6 with a pick, and that pick was returned for a touchdown by Sean Smith. Dee Ford, one of the major stories here on this Chiefs defense, already loaded in that front seven, and certainly not hurting for pass rushers. Adding another via the first-round pick. Lined up on the left side now in second down. Campbell in stride to Dane Sanzenbacher. Big gain out to the 49-yard line as the Bengals pick up 20.
Tackled by James Michael Johnson after a gain of 20 yards.
See, Dee Ford's going to have to learn to disguise that a little bit better. If you want your quarterbacks to think you're on the edge and you're really going to pass rush, he needs to bend his knees a little bit more, get in more of a sprinter stance like he's going to come off the edge. And then if he's going to drop into coverage, you have a guy like Jason Campbell and you're standing there a little straight-kneed and you're acting like you're going to be in coverage. So you got to do some disguising. Otherwise, quarterbacks will pick up on that real quick.
Bengals out to the 45. Josh Martin with the tackle after a gain of 6. And of course, a lot of enthusiasm about Dee Ford last May. That's why he went in the first round. But there's questions about every single kid that goes in the first round, and some of the concerns with Dee Ford, or I guess another way of looking at it, some ways he's going to have to develop. You pointed out looking comfortable in pass coverage, but also how stout is he going to be against the run? We know he can get after the passer, but can we trust him against the run?
Well, when you talk about the inside of this line, DeVito's not playing tonight. Alan Bailey has really gotten better and added some weight. You got Dontari Poe in the middle. But the linebackers are the ones that get freed up to make those tackles. And that's really, as you said, in the run game, you're going to have to be able to rally and make that hit.
There's a flag on the play.
Holding defense, number 21. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
You told us early in this broadcast we were going to see some extra flags for defensive backs with their hands on receivers, and we've certainly seen that tonight. That one called against Sean Smith.
Well, we're going to see a lot of it throughout the preseason because they want, once the regular season starts, they obviously don't want the games to slow down, but they've got to send a message, the officials, that this is really going to be taken seriously and this is what we're going to call. So guys have to transition their game, and Bob Sutton's defense is known as a physical defense, so the players are going to have to make that transition.
Campbell looking deep to Tate.
See, to me, that's offensive pass interference.
And that is the rookie third-round selection, Philip Gaines, with the coverage.
You got Brandon Tate being covered by Gaines, by Philip Gaines. And you can see Tate, he's grabbing the back of Gaines's jersey and pulling him back. Look at that, he's got a handful. Then he gets up on his shoulders and pulls him back. I mean, it's a smart play by Tate to make sure the interception doesn't happen. But with the official right there, you know, they're putting such an emphasis on the defensive backs and not making contact. You've got to be fair and make the call on the offensive player as well.
To the ground, that's a gain of 7. Take a look at the draft picks from early in May from John Dorsey and the Chiefs, led off by Dee Ford. Didn't have a second-round pick because of the acquisition for Alex Smith. Philip Gaines, we just saw him. He went in the third round. DeAnthony Thomas, 80-yard touchdown return tonight. We look forward to seeing Aaron Murray a little bit later in this game. And Zach Fulton starting on that offensive line.
Well, 4 of the 6 have already had an impact in this game tonight. We're not even through the first half of the first preseason game.
2 of those picks, the first 2 picks, Dee Ford. And also Gaines on the field right now. Chiefs coming with the blitz. Campbell with time, and that's how you beat the blitz. Get rid of it quickly. Jerron McMillan with the tackle. That is a gain of 7 and a Bengal first down.
Tackled by Jaron McMillan.
Well, that was aggressive. Just didn't quite get home.
Well, that's the thing, and you're going to learn that from a secondary standpoint. If you're bringing pressure and you're leaving yourself in one-on-ones and you know it's third and medium, you can't go back in that deep of coverage. You can't be off of the tight end. If that's your responsibility, you can't be off of him, 10, 12 yards. You've got to be able to rally and make that tackle, and that's just too big of a cushion on that down and distance.
Bob Sutton going to coach up the defense here at the 2-minute warning. He'll do so with his Chiefs on top, 20-17. 2 minutes left till halftime here at Arrowhead. Good night for football here for the first time in the preseason. A lot of highlights as well. 20-17, the Chiefs on top. Tamba Hali, all-pro defensive end. Watching his defense right now bend a little bit on this drive led by Jason Campbell. See if the Chiefs can prevent breaking here and protect that 3-point lead as they head into the halftime locker room. Jason Campbell, the quarterback, the tailback, the rookie out of LSU, Jeremy Hill. Campbell firing deep. This is Sanzenbacher near the end zone. It's called a touchdown. We do have a penalty marker down on the 10-yard line. See if the 6 points stand.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense number 40. That penalty's declined. Result of the play is a touchdown.
26-yard touchdown, Jason Campbell to Dane Sanzenbacher.
You see Jay Howard in the middle of the defensive line getting pressure. He's one-on-one with the left guard. He's able to get up the middle and get in the face of Jason Campbell. Jason just does a nice job of keeping his vision upfield, bouncing to the outside to escape that pressure, making an accurate throw, and as you said, Paul, Sanzenbacher doing a great job of sticking the ball in the end zone, but good pressure by Howard up that middle.
Believe they're taking a look at this scoring play to make sure that he did get in. And it looks like he did get in there against Andy Reid's and Bob Sutton's defense. Mike Nugent from 33 yards out, which we are doing on the extra points for the first couple weeks of the preseason here. That's in, and the Bengals back on top, 24-20. Jason Campbell, 2 touchdown passes, 1 to Brandon Tate, the most recent to Dane Sanzenbacher. Bengals by 4. Let's take a look at the Hy-Vee drive of the half. Hy-Vee, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. This isn't exactly a drive, but it is quite a highlight provided by 4th-round selection DeAnthony Thomas. Took that big hit, held onto the ball, kept his feet, and sprinted 80 yards for the Chiefs touchdown. And when he was selected in the 4th round, that was the vision John Dorsey had and all the fans had, all the excitement they saw in Oregon. See how it could translate here at Arrowhead Stadium. And in his first appearance, he didn't let anybody down.
Well, and I think the good thing for the Chiefs is that he's playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, because I'm sure he's not real happy with the fact that he lasted all the way to the 4th round, and hopefully him and the Chiefs that he has a big season.
Doug Peterson and Andy Reid going to find a way, exploring all the ways to use him in the running game and the passing game as a back, also as a slot receiver. And as we mentioned earlier, as they explore all that and experiment a little bit, they know they can use his playmaking ability on special teams.
Well, the great thing about having Peterson and Reid here is the guy that was ahead of Jamal Charles and all that statistics is McCoy over there in Philadelphia, and those guys had a lot of experience working with him, and the type of athlete that DeAnthony is presents the same type of skill set when you use him as a receiver and a runner.
Second quarter has belonged to Chase Daniel. Alex Smith went 3 out of 5 for 19 yards in his first quarter. Mal Davis going nowhere that time. It's a loss of 1. Danielle Manning, veteran defensive back, there to make the tackle.
Well, that's good recognition by the Cincinnati defense. I know the Chief fans don't want to hear that, but a lot of times starting a 2-minute drive, you start off with the screen pass just to see if you can't get a big chunk, but then it also gets the clock running and you start working on some of your 2-minute offense.
Blitz throwing Daniel out of his rhythm there, gets out to the 22-yard line. Thought he was just going to step up and deliver, but he had to step up and keep it himself. Margus Hunt, draft pick from a year ago out of SMU, applying the pressure.
Well, he's had that happen a few times already tonight where he's had to step up, and I'd like to see if he has a chance to step up and maybe hit that crossing route. He had Kelsey on a crossing route over the middle, about 10-15 yards upfield. It's easy to say from up here in the press box where you can see everything. It's another thing having all those bodies around you.
Nice read by Daniel. Accurate pass to Frankie Hammond Jr., and he does the rest. Fights and kind of jukes for an extra couple yards. Good for a Kansas City first down. Now inside a minute, clock at 42 seconds and ticking. What have you seen from the, I guess, battle, if it is, for the number 2 spot at training camp there, Trent, between Chase Daniel and Tyler Bray, just missing Cal Williams and also Aaron Murray? Or is it even a battle? Do you think Chase Daniel has a firm grip on that second spot?
You know, I think Chase has a firm grip on that second spot. I think you go back to that San Diego game and how he played. You go back to his presence in the quarterback meeting room, his relationship with Alex Smith, the type of guidance that he gives on the sideline. Alex comes off the field. Chase was the first one there to talk to him about the pictures, talk to him about what the defense is trying to do. And so having that type of backup presence, I think Chase is very secure. Now, obviously it's the preseason, lots of things happen, but it's definitely his job to lose. Now, moving on to the other 2 quarterbacks who hopefully we'll get to see both of them here in the second half. Tyler Bray, Andy Reid didn't have enough good things to say about him. He actually used the words the most improved player on the Chiefs offense because of the development he made from year 1 to year 2. You know, Tyler Bray spent a lot of time in the playbook. You have to remember, from college, he wasn't a huddle guy. He wasn't a guy that used a lot of words. He wasn't in there talking about the plays. Andy Reid's offense is a very wordy offense, and Tyler Bray was in that system where you stand back in the shotgun. You know, a lot of colleges are running it. Everybody makes a motion or a look, and then everybody looks to the sideline and they flash up another picture, another number, something like that, and that kind of tells everybody what to do. So being in the huddle and blurting out, you know, 10, 15 word plays wasn't a comfort zone for him. And now, from what Andy Reid says, he steps in the huddle with a lot of confidence and is able to say those plays, and that's carried a long way in terms of his development as not only a quarterback but a leader of that offensive group.
I think if you ask the question, who's the most talented backup quarterback on this staff, it's Tyler Bray. Who would be the most trusted if something happened to Alex Smith? I think it's that guy right there, number 10.
That's well put.
And there's a strike to Travis Kelce. No flags down. Touchdown, Kelce.
Well, and I think that's what the Chiefs were hoping for a year ago when they drafted him is not only a big body and a big presence down the middle of the field, but you have the speed once you catch it to run away from those safeties. And you can see the accuracy. You give Chase Daniel time to throw in the pocket. He hits him right in stride. He doesn't have to slow down, turn on his back shoulder, or anything like that. Hits him right in stride, and Kelce has the speed to get into the end zone.
You kind of read my mind there, Trent, talking about the accuracy, because yes, he was wide open, but he put it in a spot where he could just hit that stride and run as fast as he could, and he needed that to break away from the Bengal defense. Succop up and in, and the back and forth continues here at Arrowhead. 21 seconds left. Chiefs back on top by 3.
Bengals 24.
Well, this is what we've talked a lot about, the wide receiver position, the development of Dwayne Bowe in this offense and understanding this offense, the development of Donnie Avery, who's going to be that 3rd, 4th, 5th wide receiver. I think a lot of importance falls on the tight end position. Anthony Fasano was banged up last year, didn't play a lot. About half the season is all he was active for. Kelce was on IR. Demetrius Harris was just learning the sport coming over from basketball. So now all of a sudden you've got Demetrius Harris, who's becoming a football player and understanding better about how to control his body and run routes and block. Kelce coming back healthy, and you can see on that play right there the speed that he brings to the tight end position. You all of a sudden start attacking the middle of the field. Guess what? Dwayne Bowe is going to be one-on-one on the outside instead of having to deal with double teams. Donnie Avery is going to be one-on-one on the outside. And now all of a sudden you have these young receivers, Albert Wilson on the inside, or maybe the development of Kyle Williams or A.J. Jenkins, one of these guys stepping up, Hammond stepping up, Hemingway stepping up. You have these young guys that could all of a sudden utilize those one-on-one matchups. So the development of these tight ends is going to be big for this offense.
And Kelce's a tight end that you can certainly say his best football is ahead of him, because he hasn't been playing that position that long. He came to Cincinnati as a quarterback, spent his first year there, and only played 21 games at tight end. So that's your first indication that the arrow ought to be going up. You look even further, only 13 receptions that first season he played at Cincinnati, up to 45 his senior season. He was set back last year, was set on injured reserve, but with that athleticism and the fact that he's so raw right now, you can picture how good this kid can be.
Well, and even transition that over to Demetrius Harris, who played basketball in college. You know, his development from year 1 to year 2 has been, huge strides. So now all of a sudden, you've got some great athletes at that tight end position for the Chiefs.
Dane Sanzenbacher. Late flag comes in, and Succop knocks him out of bounds just as he hits that midfield strike. 2 penalty, actually 3 penalty markers down.
Ryan Succop, there's a flag on the play.
You can't ask for much more excitement in a preseason game. A lot of times you have you get a lot of 10-7 games.
Holding the return team number 86. It's a 10-yard penalty for the spot of the foul. First down, Cincinnati.
And Trent, we've shared some of those experiences.
Yes, we have.
Go to break and we'll look at each other like, anytime we can
get some excitement going here. There's plenty of excitement.
That is
yeah, there were 2 holds
that's beyond
right there.
a hold. That's a tackle.
The right side of your screen, you see 86 with the tackle. Oh, wait, he's blocking. So that was one of the 3 flags.
Yeah, what a first half for the Chiefs. We had a pick 6 by Sean Smith. 80-yard punt return touchdown, DeAnthony Thomas. Travis Kelce, 69-yard touchdown reception moments ago from Chase Daniel. Coming up at halftime, Rachel Sanchi will host. Mitch Holt is going to join her, and we'll have sights and sounds from the first 2 weeks of training camp. Quarter here, the Bengals led early 10-0, but the Chiefs on top now 27-24. Time now for the game summary brought to you by Farmland Foods. Farmland, passion for pork since 1959.
Enjoy the rest of tonight's game.
A lot of big play touchdowns here for the Chiefs. Started out, DeAnthony Thomas, 80-yard punt return for the score. Travis Kelce finished it off with a 69-yard touchdown reception from Chase Daniel, and Sean Smith also had a pick 6 in the second quarter. Let's check in on the sideline with B.J. Kissel.
Thanks, Paul. I had a chance to talk with Coach Andy Reid before halftime. He said he's obviously encouraged by what he's seen from the special teams, saying it reminded him of last year, and not just with D'Anthony Thomas's return, but that Albert Wilson had a nice return, and then obviously Dustin Colquitt's 71-yard punt was a big play. As far as what he wants to see in the second half, he just wants to see the young guys execute. Tyler Bray is going to start it off, but obviously he just wants to see those guys do what they've been doing out at training camp. Back to you guys.
All right, BJ, thank you. And Rachel Sanchi also will be joining us from the sideline throughout the second half. Here's the biggest highlight of the first half. Fourth-round selection, the rookie out of Oregon, D'Anthony Thomas, took the big hit, held onto the ball, kept his feet, scored from 80 yards out. The very next play from scrimmage, Sean Smith, pick 6 against Jason Campbell. Remember, the Chiefs trailed 10-0. They led 17-10 at that point. Travis Kelce, the Chiefs need a tight end after Anthony Fasano to step up late in the second quarter. That's exactly what 87 did. Second-year player out of Cincinnati, 69 yards from Chase Daniel. And that's how the action ended in that first half. And all kinds of action we had, 27-24. The Chiefs on top now as we get set to start the third quarter.
Well, and I think just the accuracy of Chase Daniel there at the end of the half, just the patience that he showed, his ability to lead that 2-minute offense, and then being in the pocket, that's where he's the most accurate. We've seen several times tonight where he was under pressure, he had to step up and take off and run. That's not necessarily his comfort zone. He can do it, but he would rather stand in the pocket and make accurate throws, and he put that ball on a dime right to Travis Kelce.
Alex Smith played the first quarter. Not a lot of action for Alex. He was 3 out of 5. Chase Daniel finished up 8 out of 10. The highlight we just saw, Travis Kelce, 69-yard touchdown. And we are expecting to see Tyler Bray when the Chiefs offense comes back on the field for the third quarter. And then hoping to see the rookie out of Georgia, Aaron Murray, play in the fourth. Kicking off, Cairo Santos, locked up in a battle right now to be the starting kicker with Ryan Suckup. And the Bengals will start the second half from the 30-yard line. Pleased to have between Trent Green and myself the team president for the Chiefs, Mark Donovan. Mark, always good to see you up here in early August. And we always have a different set of topics that we're going to kick around with you. And we're going to start here today with a lot of changes in the parking philosophy here at Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah, we made some changes that really started last season. We had brought in some experts who've done the parking plans for Olympics and Super Bowls and asked them just take a look at the system and give us some suggestions on some changes for this year. And that's what we started to implement that tonight.
Off to a good start, I would hope.
Yeah, we are. We learned a couple things tonight, which we knew we would. We've been talking all week about the plan, and you're going to see a diagram here in a second. But
there we go.
There it is. So the biggest part of the plan is what you see with the arrows. It's a one-way traffic plan, which is new yet old. So when I first got here, Jack Stedman and Lee Darrow, who are longtime employees of the Chiefs, sort of pounded in my head, you've got to go one direction on the circle. And we finally have listened to them. And it's worked very well tonight. There's still some traffic issues with this many people coming into the complex and off the highways, but overall it worked very well tonight. We learned a lot. We got a little bit better, and we'll continue to do that as we go.
Well, now let me ask you this about the traffic pattern. We saw the way the arrows were working. Now, does that go in reverse when the game's over, or does it stay in the same direction before
does
and
not.
after
So
the game?
the biggest thing about and this came from the experts, a lot of people don't realize that you really got to focus on the out as much as you do the in. And you can imagine with an overtime game, everybody's leaving the same at the same time. You're going to have traffic. But the one thing we're doing this year that our fans are already seeing, and anybody who comes out this year will see, is a lot more signage, a lot more directions to teach people how to get to the highways, how to get to the exit they want to get to. Our fans are set in their ways, and they have their certain patterns, and we're trying to teach them there may be some better ones if they just give them a shot.
Jason Campbell stands in against the blitz, fires incomplete.
Campbell's pass incomplete.
Well, I asked that question as much for the fans as it was for me, because I'm trying to figure out how I'm getting out
Get home tonight.
Which direction am I going to go tonight? Am I going to go out there, make me go this way? So it's that's good to hear, because I think, you talk about the preseason, and right now you hit rush hour. So you have a lot of people come in at rush hour, and on Sundays that's not going to be a big issue, but you have the 2 games to work in the preseason to get ready for that Monday night game against New England, which all of a sudden it's going to be the same type of start, hitting people at rush hour, those types of things. So I think that would be a big learning curve.
That's exactly right. The big thing about this game and our next home game will be exactly that. We're at midweek, faced with in fact, today on 435 there was a 2-car accident at rush hour, and I'm sitting in my office. I see the traffic, and yet there's nobody coming in gate 5 because those people are just going home. They're not coming to the game. Right. About 10 minutes later is when the traffic started within gate 5. So today worked pretty well. We learned a lot. It was better than it's been. I've heard a lot of really great compliments of the system. People appreciating us continue to work on this. It's a big issue across the league and one that we're going to get better at. Oh, look out.
Oh, that's going to be a touchdown, Chiefs. Malcolm Bronson, the second pick 6 for Kansas City tonight.
Well, we mentioned earlier after Sean Smith's touchdown that the Chiefs had 11 touchdown returns a year ago off special teams and defense, and so far tonight they've had 3 with 2 on defense, 1 on special teams. So picking up right where they left off with getting points on the board other than through their offense.
All of our boss, Clark Hunt, was up here in the second quarter, and he had to watch from right there at pick 6 for the Bengals. So when you see him again tonight, you say, when I was up in the booth.
I will definitely remind him, and I think a lot of people have fun with the fact that I proved that I don't do this for a living. As I'm in the middle and I go, oh, look out. That's probably not what you're supposed to do, right? Given what you guys do for a living, it's probably not what they teach you in school.
You are being invited to stay here to keep it with the 3-man booth after the break.
Look forward to that.
See? All right. Back after the break. More big plays for the Chiefs. The 3rd return touchdown of the night. This one provided by Malcolm Bronson. And Kansas City, biggest lead of the night by 10. Malcolm Bronson, pick 6, just like Sean Smith did in the first half. All kinds of points for preseason game number 1. 10 more for the Chiefs right now than the Bengals, 34-24. 12:39 left. Cairo Santos kicking it off deep. And the Bengals will get another chance, and we have another chance here with the Chiefs team president, Mark Donovan, back for his second consecutive segment here to make it a 3-man booth.
There you go.
That means that the first one went pretty well. So more topics to talk about, more things to learn about what's happening, I guess, in Chief Kingdom. Red Friday coming up September 5th. What should I know about that?
Yeah, so we're so excited about Red Friday. Clark may have already spoken on this, but the fact that Red Friday is a tradition in this town is huge for us and for our fans, but to then combine it with Union Station's celebration of their 100-year celebration, it's going to be a special night, and all the fans need to know to get to Union Station that night because it's Chiefs football, it's Red Friday, it's alumni, it's Clark, and then it's just a really epic celebration of what Union Station has meant to this town.
That's a gain of 2 for the Bengal running game.
Well, we talked a year ago about the introduction of the Chiefs Kingdom Pass, and just tell us what enhancements are taking place this season and what's going to even make it better.
Yeah, so the Kingdom Pass, we're the first team in the National Football League to have a fan loyalty program tied to our ticket cards, and our fans have taken to it. We had one fan last year who cashed 43,000 points to go to the draft and give Roger Goodell the jersey for our first draft pick on stage. I mean, that you can't, we talk about things you can't buy.
Right.
And that was one of our season ticket members who cashed points and, got a lot more value for being a season ticket member.
That's value at the draft, a different kind of value at the draft. 1-2 penalty markers down on the play. And we'll check in here on the infraction here. There'll be some discussion about it. The Chiefs on top by 10, 34-24. 11:52 left in the third quarter.
There are fouls against both teams on the play. Illegal formation, offense number 72. The player is not on the line of scrimmage. Holding, defense number 40. Those penalties offset. We'll replay, second down.
Well, other than going to the draft and
Ozzy,
other than Other than going to the draft and having a chance to hang out with Roger Goodell, what are some of the other things the Kingdom Pass? You get discounts with merchandise. You get rewards through what you're buying at concessions.
So discounts on merchandise when they're at the stadium. $1 off of our top 10 selling items for using the card. Tonight, when we had the special thank you for the fans, we had fans who actually got on the field pregame, got to meet a player, got an autograph prior to the game, and they all cash points to get there. And they earn points by being fans, by going to the draft party, by going to training camp, by coming to getting through the toll booth earlier, getting to their seats earlier. Things that make the experience better for everybody, but we reward them for that. And the whole idea is to continue to deliver value to the season ticket members. And
so the Kingdom Pass is for season ticket holders. That's how you get the pass.
That's correct.
And once they're inside, what are some things that have been done to enhance their experience? With Wi-Fi and Red Zone you can watch inside the stadium as well?
Yeah, so I gave this presentation last year when we launched the Wi-Fi and our app. Fans should go down and just download Chiefs Mobile. It's an app that is in stadium, and it gives you replays from 8 different camera angles. I watch it during games because I'll actually watch Red Zone, which you get for free when you're in the stadium. So it's a way to enhance the whole experience. Our fans, they watch the game to watch the game, right. And they don't. It's not like some of the other venues where you're constantly being berated with information and data. Here what we do is we try to give them what they're looking for. And what they're really looking for here, what they've told us is they want to see replays, highlights, and they want to see fantasy. They want to keep track of their fantasy teams. They want to know what's going on around the league. And this app does a great job of it. It's used by 28 of the 32 NFL teams right now.
And you say that's what the fans have told us. I'm just curious, like, how do they tell you? Through emails, through surveys? I mean, how are you so in touch with them?
Yeah, so 2 different things. One, we do our own surveys of all of our fans, not only season ticket members, but fans in general. The other thing that we do as a league is we do a fan survey of season ticket members across the league, and then we use that as a comparative. So we know what Broncos fans or Packers fans or Raiders fans think about their experience, and then we actually compare against that. And I'm proud to say that the team that works here and creates the experience at Arrowhead is seen by the league as one of the model franchises for the fan experience. And we talk about always celebrating that and creating more opportunities, but it all comes down to the people in this building. Mm-hmm. And they make Arrowhead special, and as Coach has said before, they create a home field advantage, and that's real.
They really create something, too, that I think people enjoy being a part of because, I mean, just kind of the view from 5,000 feet, you're here inside the building every day, but working at the NFL Network the last 10 years, I hear so many people talk about what a unique experience it is to end up at Arrowhead Stadium through work. And these are people that go to different stadiums every single weekend out of the year, and everybody talks about how it's just a little bit different. 2 stadiums come up, really, Lambeau and Arrowhead, as the ones you just got to get there at some point to see a game.
That's exactly right, and they do a great job up in Green Bay. We're a group of pretty competitive folks, so we would like to make our experience even better, and we hear that from the league all the time. We hear people this is on people's bucket list. Whether you're a Chiefs fan or not, you've got to get to Arrowhead because it's so special, and it starts with tailgating, and it extends into the actual game and the game experience, and the little things that we've done to bring back some of the traditions to really celebrate Municipal Stadium and the history of the Chiefs have all been a real special part of Arrowhead Stadium.
And now that the parking is so enhanced, I mean, come on. Got to get out here.
That's right. We continue to get better.
So Jason Campbell, as you saw, knocked out of the game. And in at quarterback is Matt Scott.
He's tackled by Josh Martin.
When you talked about Josh Martin. And you talked about the Chiefs app that you can get the Red Zone on, and you're looking at replays and those kind. You talk about fantasy, how fans like following fantasy, and really with the technology and the things that have been added to the stadium with the ribbon board. There's continually updating stats with the in-game experience. You continually updating fantasy points, not only regular stats and game scores, but you're giving fantasy points as well on the ribbon board.
Chiefs defense stepping up there on 3rd down, although nice job after contact by Rex Burkhead. And there's your first round selection, D Ford.
You know,
Tackled by D. Ford.
Trent, to that point about the ribbon boards, this is a good example of the league listening and Chiefs listening to our fans. One of the things that we did a couple years ago was we put the under the hood replay in the stadium, so our fans can actually see what the official is looking at when he goes under the hood. Along the same lines, this year we'll actually do all the updates on injuries on the ribbon boards and through our app.
Frankie Hammond Jr. on the run, catches that one, gets just to the 50-yard line. Nice return.
Jr. on the return.
Good aggressive return, and we want to thank Chiefs team president Mark Donovan for hanging out not for one but two segments here in the booth. Trent and I are going to go back to a two-man booth and see if we can make it here.
I think it might be better with just the two of you. Good luck.
Mark, thank you very much. More football with the Chiefs leading by 10 after this. Look at that, we even have a full moon to go along with all those Chiefs points. The team that trailed at 1 point, 10-0.
49-yard line.
Putting points up in all kinds of ways. Punt returns, interception returns, long touchdown passes, and now our first look at Tyler Bray. Second-year quarterback out of Tennessee, undrafted free agent a year ago. The man Andy Reid told us on Monday might be the most improved player in camp. Gets off to a tough start there, goes down with a sack on his first play. The sack courtesy of Margus Hunt, second-year player from SMU. Oh, we got to look at the talent last year, Trent. Late in the preseason against Green Bay, he came on and kind of made a habit of putting points on the board late in that game.
Well, and reflecting back on that game, he did a nice job, his presence in the pocket, finding the open receiver. You saw in the first touchdown pass, he actually went through 3 progressions before he got to his receiver for the touchdown in that right front corner. So he's the only guy in the stadium that wasn't real happy with the way the defense was playing. The defense gets a touchdown, then they go right back out on the field. So here he comes out of halftime thinking he has the whole third quarter, and half the quarter is gone before he gets on the field.
Tailback is Cyrus Gray, his first carry, third-year selection out of Texas A&M, or third-year player, former draft pick out of A&M. He picks up 4.
You touched about Bray and just some of the things that he brings to the table, his physical tools. Obviously, his height is a big factor. He's got a tremendously strong arm. When you look at the other quarterbacks on the roster, Tyler probably has the strongest arm of the 4. But the system he was in college doesn't transition to what Andy Reid does as an offense. So when Andy Reid says he's the most improved player, it's because of a lot of the things mentally that he had to transition from his offense at Tennessee to what the Chiefs are trying to get accomplished here.
Empty backfield on 3rd down and 9. The Bengals bring 4. They get to Bray, shakes it off, steps up. How's that for making a play? Second-year tight end Demetrius Harris hauls it in. Nice play, Tyler Bray. Gain of 20 on 3rd and 9.
Well, and that's what you have to be able to do. A lot of times as a young quarterback, when you get pressure and you're forced to, step up in the pocket and pull away from a sack, you lose your vision down the field and you want to drop your head and take off and run. He does a nice job of keeping his eyes upfield. He has a big target, 6'7", Demetrius Harris running a crossing route. Does a nice job putting that ball accurately down the field, and as you saw, Alex Smith is fired up for him as well.
And Tyler Bray doesn't come in, or did not come in last year, with a lot of college experience. You look at the other backups, Chase Daniel, a 3-year starter at Missouri, Aaron Murray, a 4-year starter at Georgia, and Tyler only started 24 games his sophomore and junior season there at Tennessee.
Delay a game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Did a lot with those starts. 2012, threw for over 3,600 yards, second only to Peyton Manning there at Tennessee in the history books. Nice job of taking care of the football too. 69 touchdowns with only 28 picks in those 24 starts.
Well, no, I think there was some shock on his part. When he came out after his junior year, he anticipated being drafted somewhere in the middle rounds. He goes undrafted and ends up here in Kansas City. And so I think some of that a little humbling, and you get in a quarterback room. You get in a quarterback room with Alex Smith and Chase Daniel. They're going to teach you how to be a pro.
And that's the kind of situation where I think you would say, Trent, you got to know that ball's got to come out.
Well, yeah, that's just hanging on. That's just youth. That's just not understanding pass rushers in the National Football League. Very seldom can you sit back there and bounce 5 or 6 times, slide around, and have that much time to throw. There's got to be that mental clock that goes off that says, okay, I got to get rid of the ball. Whether it means throwing it into the stands, throwing it out of the back of the end zone, or finding that wide open receiver that you're hoping to get the completion.
And knocking it out, Dante Moak, number 92, highly productive player out of Nevada a couple of years ago. And the recovery by David King. And I would imagine that Andy Reid is giving him some version of what you just said. Got to get rid of football there at some point. Bengals will take over trailing by 10.
Presented by Sprint, located behind section 114.
2014-2015 Chiefs cheerleaders calendar is now available. This is a 16-month calendar, by the way. To pick yours up, visit the team store at Arrowhead or go to kcchiefs.com/cheerleaders. Matt Scott back in at quarterback. Third quarterback to play for Cincinnati tonight. Coverage there for the Chiefs, Justin Rogers. And Tyler Bray just with a negative play, holding on to the ball and getting it knocked out there.
Well, you can see all the quarterbacks there working together, all four of them with Doug Peterson, the offensive coordinator, talking about that interception. And you can understand, as a young quarterback, I reflect back on when you get in these preseason games, you're trying to make an impression, and you can understand why he's hanging on to the ball, because he doesn't want to give up on the play, doesn't want to quit on the play, but he's just got to understand where they are on the field. They're already in field goal range. You have to get that ball out of your hand. But you can understand that pressure he was under trying to make a play.
Matt Scott hands off to Cedric Pierman.
Cedric Pierman, the ball carrier.
Backup tailback for the Bengals, picks up 3. So Alex Smith played the first quarter. He's had the hat on ever since. Kind of a slow night for him. Just 3 out of 5, 19 yards. He also was sacked, was fumbled, had the ball recovered by the Bengals inside the 20-yard line that led to a Cincinnati touchdown. That took place in the first quarter. Alex came out. Chase Daniel played the second quarter, went 8 for 10 for 126 yards. Late touchdown pass to Travis Kelce. Nice job by Scott standing in against the blitz.
Scott's pass is complete.
Bengal first down.
James Wright.
11 yards. James Wright caught that ball.
Tackled by Philip Gaines. Gained 11 yards on the play.
We see a lot of these young guys in there now at corner, at safety. The communication part of it, we had a chance to talk to Eric Berry before this game. I know he didn't play tonight, but we had a chance to talk to him, and he said the big thing for the secondary is communication, getting the signals down, making sure everybody's in the same coverage, the same look, understanding, communicating between linebackers and who's on blitz and who's on pressure. So Berry made a big point with all these new players in the secondary. The communication is going to be a big factor in it.
Pierman doesn't make it back to the line of scrimmage. Nice job there by that Chiefs defense.
On the carry.
Vance Walker, bottom of that pile. And keep in mind the Chiefs' first 2 draft selections from May. That's first rounder Dee Ford, the outside linebacker / defensive end, and also the cornerback. The 3rd round selection, Philip Gaines, number 23, both playing right now. At the top of your screen, number 55, Ford. And there is Gaines, 3rd round selection. Had a nice East-West Shrine week. Garnered a lot of attention there. Ran just under 4.4 at the combine. Kind of paved the way to him becoming a 3rd round selection. Nice run by Matt Scott. Not only picks up the first down, but gets inside the 25-yard line. He keeps it for a gain of 25.
Well, and that's the negative sometimes if you have too good of coverage and you're in man-to-man. All of a sudden the quarterback steps up and there's nobody assigned to the quarterback. And that's exactly what Matt Scott was able to recognize, is what the coverage was in, and he took off up the middle.
1st and 10 Bengals from the 25.
Let's check in on the sideline with our Rachel Sashi, joined by quarterback Alex Smith.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Alex Smith. Alex, what's it like being back at Arrowhead tonight?
It's great. You know, it's been a long time off. You know, so great to be back here. You know, it's the next step. We're up in training camp right now, working hard. You know, but it's great. Preseason nonetheless. It's fun to be in front of the fans, have their support. Great to be Fan Appreciation Day out here before the game. And yeah, I mean, this is what football's all about. So.
What did you say to Tyler Bray after the fumble out there?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, QBs today have had 3 turnovers, so certainly not, you know, playing up to our expectations. And it's tough to win football games like that. Luckily, we still have the lead right now. Hopefully defense holds us right here. You got to bounce back, you know. You got to have a short memory in this league. You know, mistakes are going to happen. You know, it's always about the next play, though.
How have you seen this offense evolve now in year 2 with Andy Reid?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to even compare to last year because that wouldn't really even be fair. Certainly, you know, a long way ahead of where we were last year at this time. But at the same time, expectations have changed. You know, the bar's been raised, and you know, we're shooting for different goals. And you know, it's hard to choke back here a little bit in preseason. We've still got to go out there and execute.
Great, thank you, Alex.
Thanks.
Alex, Rachel, thank you very much. And what a play there by Jay Howard.
Jay Howard.
From his defensive line spot, got the start tonight because Mike DeVito is not playing tonight, and he was in there right away. This is the Bud Light Exmo look, a slow motion look at the play there made by Jay Howard. And a moment ago when he was talking with Rachel, Alex mentioned, now the expectations are up there. I mean, it's one thing last year, everything is just, it's so much fun when you're not expected to be a playoff team and you get there. And not everybody thinks you ought to be there.
Well, when you go from 2 wins to 11 wins, it obviously gets everybody revved up, and I think that excitement is carried over to this season. So, as Alex mentioned, the expectations this year, even though everybody around the country wants to talk about the schedule, oh, it's a tough schedule, it's a tougher schedule than what they had to deal with. I think this team is very focused and not factoring in, what's going on with the schedule or the internal or external voices, I should say, of what people have to say about this team. I think they're focused, and I think you saw that. I think you saw that intensity and that focus just in that interview with Alex Smith. Like, listen, the expectations have been raised, and we understand that. And he was talking about holding back in the preseason. You could see that he wants to do more, and I think he's excited about what this season's going to hold.
Nice job by Perriman of keeping his feet and fighting to get inside that 10-yard line. That was Jay Howard once again making contact in the backfield. This time he couldn't bring him down. Tackle made by James Michael Johnson.
7 yards on the play.
And that is the final play of the third quarter. Quarter did not come and go, though, without another return touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs. This time Malcolm Bronson with the pick six. And the Chiefs lead by 10 heading into the fourth quarter. Chiefs training camp presented by Mosaic Life Care continues on the campus of Missouri Western State University in St. Joseph through August 14th. Join us for practice on Sunday, August 9th, followed by a team autograph session and special appearances by Chiefs alumni. For details, you can visit kcchiefs.com/training camp. Training camp just not as long as it used to be, Trent, right? You used to go for 6, 7, 8 weeks.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that long, but yes, it was long, and you used to have 2 days,
right?
And you used to have 2 days with pads, So it's I'm glad the players got it changed. I think it's only going to help the long-term health of many of the players. And
Matt Scott firing to the end zone. If that's a catch, no, it wasn't. Knocked away.
I don't know if all the coaches will agree with that philosophy, but they've had to adapt and adjust.
I believe that was veteran Steve Gregory, the safety most recently with the Patriots. Well, he was there late and making that play, the rookie third-round pick, Philip Gaines.
I thought live it looked like a touchdown.
That's pretty
I wouldn't
close.
be surprised if they don't replay this. Let's see. He has it. I don't know. I can't see that back heel from that angle, but
a nice effort by James Wright. It does look like he caught it.
Let's see what that heel. Let's see if that heel's in. Looks like there's green.
And then it's just a matter of if he had control.
And he has dropped the flag. So we're going to have some time to talk about it and look at it a few more times.
Absolutely. Going to have a break first. We're back. Chiefs leading by 10 right after this. Now they're taking a look at what might be a touchdown for the Cincinnati Bengals. Matt Scott. Fade pass to James Wright. The coverage provided by the rookie third-round pick for the Chiefs, number 23, Philip Gaines. And there's the control. There's the left foot, and the right foot is inbounds. It was ruled incomplete on the field.
I think the other thing you have to first off, Gregory's in great position. Gaines is in tremendous position. The receiver just catches it on the back of Gaines's head. Now the other part of the equation is, does he secure the football all the way through the catch? And it appears that he does on that replay.
After review of the play, the receiver caught and controlled the ball through the process of the catch and had both feet down in the end zone. Therefore, the ruling on the field is reversed. It is a touchdown. Cincinnati is not charged with a timeout.
And that was a heck of a catch. James Wright, nice job at going up there, securing the football, hanging on, getting the feet down. And Marvin Lewis's Bengals pulled to within 4.
Quinn Sharp on for the extra point. Kevin Huber.
Marvin been at Cincinnati 12 seasons now. It's a long time for an NFL head coach.
Well, it's a long time for an NFL head coach. It's a really long time in Cincinnati. I mean, you look at some of the front office things that they've done there as far as their scouting department, and Marvin's has helped with that whole transition. What they've done from a general manager standpoint, what they've done from a personnel standpoint.
And Quinn Sharp just slips that in the left side. And we've got ourselves a ball game early in the 4th quarter. Chiefs lead cut to 3. Tyler Bray will be your quarterback. Or Aaron Murray. We'll see. People all across the country know the world's best tasting steaks come from the Kansas City Steak Company. Melts in your mouth, perfectly aged beef. Get yours today at kansascitysteaks.com. Taste, it matters. We are keeping good company up here in the booth tonight. We had Chiefs Chairman and CEO Clark Hunt. We had Chiefs President Mark Donovan. And now we have from MondayMorningQuarterback.com, SI.com, Football Night in America. Did I leave anything out, Mr. Peter King?
No, I think you got it all, Paul. I think you did. Thank you.
Well, this is going to be fun. Talk a little Chiefs football with you here at the Chiefs on top by 3 here early in the 4th quarter. Weston Dressler, after 6 seasons in the Canadian Football League, trying to make the roster in the NFL for the first time. So
Saskatchewan Rough Rider, wasn't he?
There you go, 2-time CFL All-Star.
Yeah.
I've been reading you pretty much every morning, or someone on your staff. You've been touring around all the training camps the last 2.5 weeks. As you got here, I don't know if you drove or if you flew. I'm sure you probably drove, knowing how you get around the country these days.
Yeah, we drove. We were in St. Louis yesterday.
Okay.
And we drove in, got in late last night, and actually was up in St. Joe's today, this morning, talking to Andy Reid and John Dorsey, and here we're at the game tonight. So I would have much preferred to see practice, but you can't. With the way the schedule is, you can't see everything.
So from your
look, it's Marcus Allen,
right? 32. Either that or Cyrus Gray, 3rd-year player out of A&M. But based off of your conversation, Peter, with John Dorsey and Andy Reid, what you can share about that and what you've seen here tonight, your impression here, year 2, or Andy Reid regime here in Kansas City.
Well, when I left him today, Paul, I said, so tell me guys to look for today, and he goes, watch number 8 and watch number 1. So by the end of the 1st quarter, number 8 and number 1 have gone 145 yards for a touchdown and a long kick return. Albert Wilson, obviously the kid from Georgia State, and DeAnthony Thomas, the 4th-round pick from Oregon, who just, what an incredible return. He showed the speed, but the other thing he showed is the ability to take a pretty good hit,
right,
and to stay upright. I thought that was really, really impressive, both those guys. And, that's why I've always thought that Andy Reid, if I were a free agent, I would want to be on an Andy Reid team. There's a few coaches where that a coach is going to say, hey, I go by what I see. Andy Reid is going to go by what I see, and Albert Wilson's going to make this team.
He's done a nice job of making an impression, not only as a returner, as you saw, but also
receiver,
yeah, slot wide receiver. There's Cyrus Gray once again around the right side.
What's the thought around the country of this Chiefs defense? I know that there are 7 returning Pro Bowlers on the team, but from a defensive standpoint, they feel really good about a Dontari Poe who made a Pro Bowl. Obviously, Derek Johnson made a Pro Bowl. Eric Berry made a Pro Bowl. But just overall, what's the feeling of this defense?
I think the feeling is that their young stars have to become the nucleus that they build around. Because, look, you talk about Poe. You talk about Houston, you talk about Eric Berry. They're really needy at cornerback right now, obviously. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a deal at some point later this month for a corner. But to me, I look at this team and I say, Andy and John Dorsey want to build this team in their own image, okay? And by that I mean they want to make sure that next year, when they have all these compensatory picks, they're probably going to have 12 draft choices next year. And they want, in that period of time, next year, to really start to add to what is a good, solid defensive nucleus now. Because really, the stats might be good last year. They might have said good things, but, the last memory of the Chiefs defense is not a very good memory.
Well, and you talk about them going out and picking up a corner, and you look at the two corners that started tonight, Ron Parker and Marcus Cooper. Those are two guys that after final cuts, John Dorsey picks up off of waivers from San Francisco and Seattle. So John Dorsey and his analysis of what's going on around the league, that's what gives you the thought process that he may go out and get somebody else.
I do, and you know, obviously, I mean, you got to figure that Sean Smith is going to be one of their guys there, you know, at the start of the season, but that's just a position of need, and who knows, maybe, you know, the one other guy I know that everybody has been sort of waiting to see is this Demetrius Harris. We get a 4th down coming up, maybe I should shut up.
4th down and 1, Cyrus Gray, the tailback. Cyrus Gray, Tyler Bray, quarterback. Cyrus puts his head down. I think he got just enough to keep the chains moving and to keep Peter up here with us. And Peter, I know we're watching the defense right now.
Right.
Other Bengals and some of the backups for the Kansas City offense. But in my position, whether I'm doing play-by-play or I'm hosting a show, there are some go-to discussion points I can always break out. I know it's at the very least going to spark a healthy discussion, if not an argument. If I say Alex Smith is just a game manager, I'll have some people stick up for him.
Yeah.
If I say Alex Smith is so much more than just a game manager, people are going to say, no, he's not. Which side of that do you come down on?
I think
what's your view?
I think he proved once and for all last year that he's more than a game manager. And I'm not saying, I mean, look, I'm not saying that, you know, he's got the future of Andrew Luck or anything like that. But what I am saying is that last year, oftentimes when the Chiefs had to be an explosive offense, he played well enough to be an explosive quarterback. And I just think, yeah, look at his 1-loss record. And, you know, 1-loss record can be deceiving as well for a quarterback, but I do think it has some meaning. And the one thing about him that Andy Reid understands, that of all the quarterbacks he's ever had, and he's had a lot of smart ones, of all the quarterbacks he's ever had, in my opinion, he would take Alex Smith in terms of trustworthiness and understanding of the offense and being a coach on the field above everybody, even Donovan McNabb, you know, going back to his early years in Philadelphia. He loves Alex Smith. That's the kind of guy who he wants to be his field general. So I don't have any doubt they're going to reach some contract agreement and they're going to get that thing done. Andy wants him here. John Dorsey wants him here. This team needs him.
Well, and Alex wants to be here, but to emphasize your point, you go back to the second half of last season when the offense really started picking up, when the passing game really started picking up, and even the playoff game, you know, they lost the playoff game, but Alex Smith threw for 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. So I think that throws the game. I agree with you. That throws the game manager out the window. I think he does a nice job.
I just think, you know, we put labels on guys that are utterly preposterous sometimes. And it's almost like because Alex Smith was this way for X number of years, that he can't advance, that he can't be better than that, he can't be bigger than that. And I think that's a bunch of malarkey. I think Alex Smith is a top 12, 13 quarterback in this league right now, and there's a lot of teams that would love to have him.
And Cyrus Gray back in the game, and to put a bow on the Alex Smith conversation, I was looking at a lot of his production and a lot of the ways to label him or to describe how well he's played, Peter. The last 3 seasons, he's 30-10 in the regular season, his last 40 regular season starts. That's very good in and of itself. In those 40 starts, you add up losses and interceptions, and the number is only 27.
Wow.
I mean, there's no official stat for that, but it just gives you a good idea of A, how much he wins, and B, how well he takes care of the football.
You know, and I think the other thing that really helps him, and you guys see it, you know, the thing that really helps him is that he's got, to me, right now, the best running back in football. The most versatile, difference-making running back in football because, look, I am convinced that if you put Jamaal Charles, if you split him out wide, and you had out one side, you had Bo, and the other side, Jamaal Charles. Jamaal Charles could be Deshaun Jackson. I just think he could. He's so fast. He's so liquid. And, I mean, I just think you put him in the slot, he can be Tavon Austin. You know, I just think he is so gifted in so many ways. And the other thing that I think is really underrated I think he's really a good blocker and a willing blocker. He reminds me, of the guys who enter games just to block. I mean, he knows that he has to be that to be a complete running back, and I just think he's the most complete running back in the NFL.
Well, and I think that's overlooked. That's a great point, because it is overlooked. You look at what he does against the blitz. He steps up. He's not afraid. He's not a guy that's just going to chop and try and get out of the way.
Yeah.
He does a good job of squaring guys up and understanding and recognizing what Andy wants from him in this offense. And I think in year 2, he mentioned the fact that Alex Smith and how the offense is going to expand, because Alex can just mentally handle all of that. And what Alex said, or I'm sorry, what Jamal said, is that just his overall understanding and what now they're going to open even more doors for him. So you talk about putting him in the slot, putting him out wide, throwing screens to him. I think it could even be potentially a bigger year than he had a year ago.
Yeah, it sounds like it from being over there today and talking to Andy Reid. I think I came away, he didn't give me any number, but I think he's going to touch it 350 times if he's healthy. Because, look, very rarely can you say the best player on a team in today's football is your running back. Jamal Charles is the best player on this team.
Well, talk about the compliment that DeAnthony Thomas brings now, because now all of a sudden you put both of them in the backfield, or put one in the slot and one in the backfield. I mean,
who the heck are you going to cover? Right. I mean, that's incredible. Did he get in? He got in.
And as Peter pointed out a few moments ago, it's not unusual to see a running back in 32 score here for the Chiefs. And Jamal Charles loves what he sees.
Look at that.
Celebrating on the sideline with a touchdown to Cyrus Gray.
That's the other thing. I've always been struck with Jamal Charles. He really loves football, and he's really a good teammate. I mean, that's the impression I've gotten over the years. And again, I helicopter in here a couple of times a year, so I don't know everything, but just the impression I get from the people who really like this guy is that, he's just a really, really good teammate, good guy to have on your team.
Well, I want the Chiefs fans and all the NFL fans to take notice of those two compliments. Number one, what a great pass protector he is. A lot of great backs aren't described that way. And number two, what an excellent teammate he is as well.
Yeah. Well, and when you say he's not a selfish and he wants to be that good teammate, that's what a running back that pass protects.
Yeah.
You have a lot of selfish running backs that just want to focus on running the football. And, as you said, Jamal is a great team leader and a great guy in the locker room to have.
They're going to take a look at that touchdown to see if it actually was. Trent Green and I back with Peter King right after this. Welcome back to Arrowhead Stadium, preseason game number 1. We thought Cyrus Gray, the third-year running back out of Texas A&M, got in to increase that Kansas City lead.
See where his knee hits.
And we shall see if he actually got in. The extra voice in the booth is a good one here with Trent Green and I. Peter King joining us
and
for this
soon
portion.
The extra voice is going to be Clete Blakemans. He's from Omaha, by the way. A short road trip for Clete Blakemans.
It's right up the road.
I think
he's a lawyer in Omaha.
Played for the Huskers, right?
He did. He was quarterback. Over to you, Clete.
Play, the ruling on the field stands as called. It is a touchdown.
There we go. And you are from here, Peter, headed to check out the Chicago Bears.
Going to see the Bears tomorrow night, see the Lions against Johnny Manziel Saturday, then see the Vikings, Packers, and Browns, and then go home for a few days and then go out to the West Coast. So see 24 teams all together.
That's it's covering a lot of ground. I wasn't even going to bring up Johnny Manziel, but you did, and I'm federally mandated to say. What do you think? Is he going to be the guy? Should he be the guy?
I don't know. He'll be the guy at some point this year, I think. But I think the biggest thing with Manziel is this kid. Was that Suckup?
Yeah, it was Suckup back out there. Yeah.
Who's going to be the kicker?
Right.
That's a big competition. Yeah, the field goal competition, but also the kickoff. Suckup does a great job on kickoffs, so that's a real challenge going on.
That's going to be fun. Yeah, and Manziel, I'll just say one thing. He's going to win it at some point this year. I just don't know when.
Don't know when. Hey, Peter King, great to spend time with you. Enjoy the rest of your tour, and thanks for hanging out with us.
Appreciate it.
Back with more football after this. Why do we love football? Now, football isn't just a game, it's a huge part of our lives. And we want to hear what role it plays in yours. Whether you're a player, a fan, a team, or a town, share your football story and you could win a trip to Super Bowl 49. Visit TogetherWeMakeFootball.com. Kansas City touchdown drive, 13 plays, 12 of those plays runs, by the way. 77 yards, 7:52 off the clock. Cyrus Gray with a 2-yard touchdown run to cap it off. And Kansas City leads 41 to 31. Let's check in on the sideline with Rachel Sanchi.
Thanks, guys. Well, as you know, with the regular season quickly approaching, also comes one of Kansas City's favorite traditions, Red Friday, which will be on September 5th this year. And you'll see tons of Red Coders and volunteers selling these brand new Red Friday flags. They'll only be sold on September 5th, so be sure to go to any local McDonald's and you can buy one. All the proceeds will be benefiting the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Kansas City. And then later that night, we'll also have a pep rally and a special celebration at Union Station. So don't forget, wear your red, buy a flag, and join us at the pep rally on September 5th.
Rachel, thank you. Trent, Friday, September 5th, I would imagine young TJ Green has a football game. You're going to be able to split time between the game and Red Friday?
You know, I'm going to have to look and see where he is, if it's a home or away game. You know, that would have a big factor in it. So that, yeah, it's exciting. You know, he's going into his senior year, and we'll see what happens. He's doing a great job. He's worked hard, and you know, it all comes down to what you do on the field. So it's going to be an exciting year for him. I'm excited for him.
You haven't talked him into trying to play receiver, or?
No, I don't think so.
Talk him into playing quarterback, probably. Matt Scott playing QB right now for Cincinnati. Penalty marker comes in late. Nice job of making a play there. Buying some extra time. And then firing downfield to Ryan Hewitt.
Well, D. Ford is back there waving them all to come back to the 30-yard line because
Holding. Offense, number 79. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
There's your first round pick out of Auburn, D. Ford. And there he is a moment ago.
Yeah, it looks like he got his hand right up in the shoulder pads there and was grabbing him as he's trying to make that rip move underneath.
Second down and 20 from the Cincinnati 21-yard line.
D. Ford getting a lot of action tonight. He was out there pretty early in the first quarter.
He has, and so is Jay Howard. You know, you mentioned that he started the game because of the injury to DeVito, and he played well through the third quarter.
And timeout called by Matt Scott. 5:57 left.
Timeout, Cincinnati.
D. Ford gonna exhale a little bit, catch his breath. We'll do the same playing football right after the break. Chiefs on top 41-31, just inside of 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Time now to take a look at the Hy-Vee drive of this half. Hy-Vee, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. And it just happened. Number 32, third-year running back out of Texas A&M, was the feature back. 13 plays, 77 yards, and 12 of the 13 plays were running plays. Nice fight there at the end of that play by Cyrus Gray. Gets into the end zone. They took a close look at it. Yes, it was 6. And the Chiefs get that lead back up to 10 points. And Andy Hecht's offensive line coach. I was thinking about this offensive line that's undergoing a lot of change here as Eric Fisher moves from right tackle to left. Stevenson playing right tackle. Potentially a rookie, Zach Fulton starting at guard. How nice would it be to walk into that room and have a couple of guys who played in the National Football League, and Andy Hecht and also Eugene Chung, teaching you the finer points.
Well, and that was one of the things we talked to Eric Fisher about, just the presence of those two guys in the meeting room, just the fact that they've played the game before and they played at a very high level for a long time. Andy Hecht and Eugene Chung, they bring something to the table, not only teaching them the X's and O and what their assignments are, but the technique part of it. And I think the fact that since both of them played at a high level, they can teach them the nuances. We talked to Eric Fisher about how they study film, what they're looking for from the linebackers, from the shifts of the safeties. Those are the things that I think that having been there, done that, they're able to relate that to the players, and I think that's only going to make everybody wants to mention the fact that it's the youngest offensive line in the National Football League. But when you have two coaches like Andy Hecht and Eugene Chung, that's only going to make those guys better and grow up that much faster.
And that's not the only meeting room offensively where that's taking place. Doug Peterson, a longtime quarterback with the Packers, and spending time and sharing that experience not only with the veterans Alex Smith and Chase Daniel, but the young quarterbacks and Tyler Bray and Aaron Murray. You also have Eric Bieniemy with the running backs. Jamal Charles speaking very highly of him this week when we talked to him.
I was going to say, it's great that you brought up Eric Bieniemy. You know, you look at the development of Jamal Charles, you look at what has taken place with Niall Davis only in his second year, and how well he played towards the end of the season and how well he played here tonight. and the expectations, and then Cyrus Gray just goes in and has the series that he has. So a lot of that can be put on Eric Bieniemy's shoulders because he gets those guys prepared to play no matter if they're starting, first, second, third string, whatever it is. EB does a nice job of getting them prepared.
D Ford, you saw him in there almost take down Matt Scott. Had a shot at him and just missed.
10 from the Cincinnati 43-yard line.
Ball batted right back into the face of Matt Scott. That's not a fumble.
There's no whistle.
I think that's just an incomplete pass, but
that's what it looked like. At least to me, it looked like an incomplete pass, but there was no whistle on the field, so it was a smart job by the Chiefs to continue play. If you don't hear a whistle, coaches tell you that all the time. Keep going until you hear that whistle, so they may have been able to pick up yet another defensive touchdown.
That would be 3 tonight if it stands. Jarris Campbell, number 60, knocked it down, and Kevin Rutland scooped it up and ran it back. He might have been running back an incomplete pass, but we'll check and see.
It just depends is when the hit happened, was his arm coming forward? Obviously the hit made him go forward, but was his arm coming forward?
Ruling on the field is an incomplete pass. It brings up second down.
Take a look here at Campbell. Yeah, knocking that down. Just a nice play. But you can't scoop it up and run. But like you said, no whistle. Why not?
Yeah, you know, you just keep playing, and you want the officials to get the play right. Nobody wants it to be wrong, and that's how replay got started, and that's why they continue to enhance replay, and they want the play to be right. The NFL does a good job of making sure the fair play, and the officials do a good job of getting together to try and get the play right. And even though no whistle was blown, it was smart on the Chiefs' part to continue the play. But at the end of it all, it was smart that they or good job that they got it right.
Second down 10 for Cincy. Scott coming near side, firing incomplete to Connor Vernon. And as we watch Matt Scott here, I think back to a year and a half ago at the East-West Shrine game, Trent. He was clearly the most talented quarterback down there. Talking to the coaches about him, they're like, he's a couple years away from really even having a shot, because it's something you mentioned earlier in the broadcast. He had never called a play in the huddle. And this is a phenomenon that evaluators and coaches are dealing with now. They're getting quarterbacks with a lot of potential, tough kids who can play, that haven't called a play in the huddle.
You know, and that's really the way that high school football is going, college football especially, and there's a trickle-down effect. Because of colleges are looking for certain types of quarterbacks. So because of that, the high schools are having to adjust to get to that so their players can be recruited and given an opportunity to play. And a lot of the 7-on-7 stuff that's going on in the offseason for high school players as well. But that's a tough transition for a quarterback that's in that system in college to try and become a pro-style quarterback where you have to make a living in the pocket. As much as you want to run around, and that's going to be the interesting, not to get back on Manziel again, but that's going to be the interesting thing there is quarterbacks that are used to running around and just playing by, just by feel. It's a different deal here because the defenders are so big, so fast, and you're going to take a lot of hits.
Albert Wilson. So, do you think Manziel's going to start?
The start of the season? No.
You brought it up. I have to. Have to go there.
We're going to see Aaron Murray, though.
That's right. Rookie draft selection. Another quarterback from the SEC. Watch him play for the first time after this. Alex Smith, short stay tonight. Played a little bit in the first quarter. Went 3 out of 5. And has been watching ever since. He's watching Aaron Murray, the rookie out of Georgia, play for the very first time as a Kansas City Chief. Charcandrick West, fellow rookie, for a gain of 3. Let's go to BJ on the sidelines.
Thanks, Paul. Down here with DJ. And DJ, last year as a defense, you guys prided yourself on creating turnovers, having those turnovers turn into points. Obviously, 2 pick sixes tonight, almost had a 3rd touchdown right there. What's it like to come out and see the defense make that kind of impact early?
Well, it's very exciting. As a defensive team, you want to get as many turnovers as you can and score an opportunity for the offense or take it in for the house like we did twice. So it's a good look. We got a lot of depth on this defense, and young guys are looking really good.
So, second year in Bob Sutton's scheme, what is it about what he does in particular on defense that puts you guys in positions to make plays?
Well, he's very aggressive. and he's very attention to detail too. So mentally, you got to be on because you never know where the blitz is coming from. We disguise a lot, so I love it. I got a lot of responsibility in this defense, and I'm loving it.
Now, DJ, I know you don't like talking about your own personal accomplishments, but you're pretty close to a pretty impressive career milestone, just 19 tackles away from being the Chiefs' all-time leading tackler. What would that record mean to you personally?
It'll mean a lot, you know. I'm very fortunate and blessed to be in that situation, to be here for 10 years and have an opportunity to be the #1 leading tackler in Chiefs history. That's a pretty big deal, and I'm gonna take advantage of it this year. So hopefully it can be a tackle for loss when I break it. So
I think Chiefs fans would be happy with that. We appreciate your time. Thanks, DJ.
Veteran Derek Johnson, one of 5 Pro Bowl players on that defense last year. 4 of those 5 on the front 7. Eric Berry, the one in the back end. But the Chiefs just loaded up front this year, especially with an improving Dontari Poe. I mean, the sky's the limit right there.
Well, and you look at the improvement that Dontari made from year 1 to year 2. You know, obviously last year getting into the Pro Bowl early in the season, getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and then all of a sudden teams start to double team him because they're realizing, okay, we can't just single block him. He's going to rip right through that. So second half of the season didn't have the same type of numbers, but he's occupying more offensive linemen to free up other players.
And that's Jasper Collins providing yet another return for a touchdown if it stands.
Well, all touchdowns get reviewed, so since no whistle was blown, they'll have a little conference here to talk about it, although it doesn't really look like they're getting together to have a conference.
A non-traditional touchdown return here went down. And it doesn't look like anybody touched him.
I thought maybe Sorensen tapped him on the top of the head there, Rick, when he ran by him.
I think D. Ford might have touched him right as he was
right there. See if he reaches down, well. He touches his helmet.
The ruling on the field is that the runner was not downed by contact, and return was valid for a touchdown.
Well, I would imagine a closer look's going to be taken here.
Well, it looks like Sorensen touches him on the top of the head when he goes by, and then it looks like Rutland right there.
Rutland got him, and then D. Ford.
Right there, his knees on the ground, D. Ford, it looks like 3 guys potentially touched him. So
I think Rutland got him for sure. Questionable if D. Ford's touch was to be considered a touch while he was still down.
You can see Andy Reid hold up 3 fingers. So
3 guys touched him.
You said it wasn't very hot and humid here in Kansas City. And Andy's sweating a little bit. But I tell you what, he's excited about this season getting started and getting a chance to see him up at training camp, talking to him after practice, and then obviously we had the call with him to talk before tonight's game. He's really excited about what lies ahead for this team.
Previous play under review, which is no surprise. D. Ford on the field should be no surprise either.
Right there, his knees down. Knees down, you can see it on the ground.
Huh. So with that last announcement, I was not able to hear that. Did they say the touchdown stands?
They said right now it's a touchdown, but it's under review. They're going to take a look at it. So, you know, the thing that's crazy about it is if Gafford, you see Gafford coming in there and he kind of pulls up, and some of the other players pull up. If they were to go in there and kind of blow him up or take a big hit on it, then you potentially get a penalty for continuing the play, even though no whistle had been blown. If you go in and knock him around the pile like that, so. I think the players that were near saw that he had been down, and so that's why they pulled off. You can see, you know, Thomas Gafford has a chance. He's in position. You can see him 43 right there. He gets to the outside. He's in position. He sees him touched by 2 guys. So you know, Gafford stops.
Now he's clearly touched there by Rutland and also by Ford.
Sorensen was a little iffy. You don't know. You couldn't tell if he tapped the top of his head when he ran by or not. But definitely Rutland definitely got him. D Ford.
And he's counting Sorensen.
Yes, that's it. He's holding the third.
He's rounding up.
That's right. That's right.
Rounding up to 3. Well, that touch by Rutland is clear.
You can see there's his knee down on the ground, so
he appears to be down. Then, as we saw, he had a pretty clear shot to the end zone because everybody believed he was down. And the ruling on the field was a touchdown. It would continue a pattern, though, that we've seen here tonight, Trent, with all the return touchdowns. And now we finally will get a decision.
The returner was down by contact at the 46-yard line going in. It'll be Cincinnati's ball, first and 10 from the 46. Please put 2 minutes and 33 seconds on the game clock. 2:33.
You've been right on with your official Trent Green reviews here tonight. I think you're 3 for 3.
Yeah, I better stop while I'm ahead, right? Hey, you know what, though? In this situation, this is a great opportunity. You know, coaches always talk about situation offense, situation defense, and you try and do it as much as you can in practice. But now with the new CBA, the amount of times, hours they're allowed to practice, the number of practices per day, you get into these preseason games and you get an opportunity to do some things that are situational. So here you've got 2.5 minutes to go. Cincinnati's down by 10. They're going to be in a hurry up. So the Chiefs now get to work on their 2-minute defense. They get to work on the communication part from the defensive backs and communicating those coverages.
James Wilder Jr., the rookie out of Florida State, catches the ball. Tackle made by veteran linebacker Frank Zombo.
And this is also an opportunity to talk about a new rule that's in place in the National Football League. In prior years, when a quarterback was sacked in this situation as the clock's running down, during a sack, the clock would stop until the ball was set. Now when a quarterback is sacked this late in the game, the clock will continue to run, which is once again, that's a new rule, so it's going to take a while for people to get used to it.
Scott keeps it himself, tackled by second-year linebacker out of Alabama, Nico Johnson. We have arrived at the 2-minute warning with the Chiefs leading 41-31. That was Matt Scott, quarterback for the Bengals, 3rd down and 1, first play after the 2-minute warning, and looks like just enough for a Bengals first down. Let's look at what to watch, presented by the University of Kansas Hospital, the official healthcare provider of the Chiefs. And we go all the way back to the top of the broadcast, Trent. We've pointed those things out to take a look at.
Yeah, we talked about the offensive line. They had over 140 yards rushing. We talked about the secondary. They ended up with 2 interceptions, which, as you can see there, both of them returned for touchdowns.
66, the center. 5-yard.
And then wide receiver, you know, who's going to be the 3, 4, 5 wide receiver? And right there you can see 11 catches for the wide receiver. So an impressive night in all those areas that we're going to take a look at, not just tonight, but throughout the course of the preseason.
What'd you notice from the wide receivers not named Bo, not named Avery that played tonight in their effort to be factors there at 3, 4, and 5?
Well, I think you have to be impressed with Albert Wilson. Obviously, he had the big return, but you look at the number of catches and the way he was able to control his body and dig it out of the ground on a couple of occasions. He did a nice job. I think one of the other things I mentioned is what's going to open the outside is the tight ends. And Kelsey going down the middle, getting a big touchdown down the middle of the field before the half. That's going to be another thing that all of a sudden, if you have to honor that, then that's going to just create better matchups on the outside for the wide receivers.
Demetrius Harris also had a nice gain for a first down in that second half. Tyler Bray making a play there to find him. Matt Scott.
Scott's pass complete.
Looking for Ryan Hewitt. Caught it about the 3rd time.
Ryan Hewitt.
Still a catch.
It was about the 3rd time. But he did. It looks like he got his body underneath and was able to trap it before it hit the ground.
As we approach the 1-minute mark now, James Wilder Jr. Did not get enough for that Bengal first down. Now inside a minute at 57 seconds. The tackle made by Nico Johnson.
Well, you did just a second ago see the graphic for what's going on the rest of the preseason. So Chiefs go on the road next week at Carolina, then back home against Minnesota before they wrap up at Green Bay. You may be able to notice on that graphic next week it's going to be Fox. So Paul and I, we will not be in Carolina. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to be in Carolina. Maybe you're going to go. I don't know. I'm not going to be in Carolina.
No, I mean, if it was a CBS broadcast, you might be there. No, will not be in Carolina. We'll be checking that one out and looking forward to being back here in a couple of weeks. The Carolina Panthers and Dave Toub, just like last year, Trent, praised his special teams so much during the preseason, and reason for praise again. You mentioned number 8, Albert Wilson, the undrafted free agent receiver out of Georgia State. Had a 65-yard return early in the first quarter, and DeAnthony Thomas, the 80-yard punt return touchdown also in the first half.
Well, and once again, going back to last year in the preseason and last year in the regular season, the return units, both punt return and kickoff return units, were outstanding. And you know, Ryan Suckup, he's in a battle right now with Cairo Santos to be the kicker, and you know, the kickoff is a big part of that, and that's what Ryan Suckup has done a good job in his career, is with the kickoffs. And you know, even Cairo tonight did a nice job with his kickoff.
On 3rd down and 1, Matt Scott with a strike to Connor Vernon. Touchdown Bengals.
You can see D Ford coming off of the edge.
Nice throw there by Matt Scott, and now they're going for 2. With this one at the 2-yard line, just like normal. Just like they would during the regular season, and 51 seconds left. Cincy trying to cut it to 2. Matt Scott goes in easily. We do have a penalty marker down in the end zone.
It'll either be holding or legal contact. There we go.
That penalty is declined. The point after is good.
The score, Chiefs 41, Bengals 30.
Matt Scott with a touchdown pass to Connor Vernon follows that up with a keep for 2, and we have a 2-point ball game. 41-39, 51 seconds left. D Ford on the field seemingly the entire game, getting a good workout tonight. Everyone getting ready for 1 month from today. That is the regular season opener right here at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs playing host to the Titans. Then they get to go on the road and try and find out a way to slow down Peyton Manning. And here's what they have for the first 8 weeks of the season.
Well, and I think the Tennessee game is going to be an important one. Obviously, getting an opportunity to open up at home against a Tennessee team that has a new head coach. And so you're going to have a lot of changes on Tennessee, or in Tennessee. And then, of course, you jump right in at Denver, your big rival, your big division rival. Obviously, there have been some changes over in Denver, what they've done with their personnel, coming off of that loss to Seattle in the Super Bowl a year ago. And then you got the Dolphins coming in, which a year ago finished 8-8, but were at 8-6 and in position to make the playoffs. Lost their last 2 games and missed the playoffs.
Scored only 1 touchdown those final 2 weeks, and have pretty much an entire new offensive line. I look at the veteran quarterbacks that the Chiefs are going to face the first 8 weeks of the season. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, 3 of the very best in the game. And that's without even mentioning Colin Kaepernick.
Well, and I think that's why you go out and you draft a D Ford and you draft a Phillip Gaines, because you need to get improvement on the defensive side of the ball. You know, with the development of Ron Parker, you know, Sean Smith was the backup tonight, but after a pick 6, who knows how long that'll. You know, Peter King made the comment earlier in the 4th quarter about Sean Smith eventually becoming the starter, but that's what you want. You want as much depth as possible in the secondary when you're facing, as you said, a Phillip Rivers, a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning.
Onside kick brought in by Daryl Surgeon, and that'll do it. And let's not lose sight of the fact, let's appreciate one more time here, Trent, that we had 80 points in a 2-point game. First week of the preseason. That has not happened before.
Well, you know what? We appreciate it because we're offensive guys, being 2 former quarterbacks. We like points. All the people that are watching that are defensive guys are disgusted by the fact. Defensive guys, special teams guys, they're like, Mike Mayock right now, he's going to see this replay or he's going to see this score, and he's like, what an awful game. Yeah. He wanted a 10-7 game because Mayock's a defensive guy. So every time I talk to him about these games, he's like, it's terrible. All these points scored. So, but for us, yes, it was exciting. And I think for Chief fans that tuned in tonight and came out here to Arrowhead, this was an exciting football game. Obviously, there's room for improvement. But after one game of the preseason, putting up 41 points, that's a nice total.
And that phone call's on the way from Mayock, and then he'll want to know about how all the draft picks did.
Right.
Eventually have to throw out an I don't know, and he'll think I failed.
Right.
Up here in the tonight.
He'll say, I just gave you a report on 10 different guys. He'll say, yeah, but what about that 11th guy? You didn't know about the 11th guy, right?
Exactly. Clock ticking down, and it seems like a long time ago that the Chiefs trailed 10-0 in that first quarter, but came back, all kinds of big plays, offense, defense, and special teams. DeAnthony Thomas providing perhaps the biggest play, the 80-yard touchdown return on a punt return. Springing the Chiefs to a 41-39 victory. Andy Reid entering season number 2 in Kansas City. Gets it off to a good start with a win against the Bengals tonight. Our final score, once again, Kansas City 41, Cincinnati 39. For BJ Kissel, Rachel Sanchi, Trent Green, all of us with 65 Toss Power Trap Productions, I'm Paul Burmeister. Thank you for being with us on Game 1 here of the 2014 preseason in Kansas City. We're back in 2 weeks when the Chiefs play host to the Vikings. Until then, thanks for watching and good night.